Listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com, this is the Awards Watch Podcast episode 324, and it is part 2 of our Best Films of 2025 episode. On the first episode, you heard Tyler Doster, Dan Bayer, Karen Peterson, Mark Johnson, and Eric Anderson give out their Best Film of the Year. And on this episode, you'll hear Trace Sauveur, Griffin Schiller, Cody Dericks, Jay Ledbetter, Sophia Ciminello, Josh Parham, and myself give out our Best Films of the Year so far, along with various other honorable mentions and our most anticipated films of 2026. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome back. I'm with Trace Sauveur.
Hey.
Hi, Trace. How are you?
Hi, Ryan. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's nice to hear you on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, every time you're on a podcast, I kind of feel like it's better because you have the energy needed for this show.
I was told growing up that I have a great radio voice.
You do.
This was a common. There were two things I was told a lot in high school, and one thing I'm told a lot to this day. One was that I have a good radio voice, and the other is that I have an old soul. And I went to visit home over the weekend for Christmas visits, and I had multiple people in my family say I was an old soul, that exact phrase. And so I guess I really am like going to live by that now.
So, but they never said you had an old radio voice soul.
No, they didn't say I had an old radio voice soul. Or
like,
that
what would that be like?
Well, that almost sounds like I'm kind of like a reincarnated version of an old radio jockey.
You should do some of that. I know.
Okay. I should be a radio jockey, or I should become a reincarnated version of a.
I think you should be like 1942. You know?
No, okay.
Our boys are going off to war.
That's even older than I'm thinking of. That's like war. That's like
Let me tell you about my favorite movie of the year.
I don't know if I can do that.
They have something called the talking pictures.
They're pictures that move.
There you go. See, you got it. You got it in you. It's great.
You've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what?
Chicago Tribune gives it 19 skiddly doos.
Will Awards Watch let me?
Well, I let you do that in 2026. Absolutely. I'll let you do that in 2026.
This is going to be a weekly show.
We're here to talk about, God bless us. We're here to talk about your favorite movie of the year.
Ryan, I feel like sometimes when I come on the podcast, I really just dismantle the
flow of things.
Yeah, the flow and what you had planned for it. And I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I'm nothing if not. Listen, I work with Jay Ledbetter every week.
You know what? That's very true.
And Jay has to keep me on my toes. So anything any of y'all do really, really can't be any worse than what he does.
No.
And I love Jay. And that's what it makes those shows so much fun. And it makes my job having to be alert and ready to go. And so even in this format, you can have fun. Like, you know, some of the conversations have been serious so far, but for the and this one might be as well, because we're talking about, a fairly serious movie for your favorite movie of the year. But you can never not be you, Trace, on
Thank
this.
you.
And you've had such a great year. You've written so many wonderful reviews for us on the site. But you're here to talk about a movie you didn't write about, a movie that I was able to see at Cannes. You saw, where did you see this at?
I just got a screener for it and watched it on my dang computer.
Okay, that the way that the director would intend.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Your favorite film of the year is Kelly Reichardt's The Mastermind.
Yes, it is. I'll preface this and say, really, my favorite movie of the year is One Battle After Another. I admit it. I'm no different.
You're not the only
else.
one that's going to be doing this throughout the series, or has done it throughout this series.
I just knew that this was true of most people for Awards Watch. It is a lot of people's favorite movie of the year, and I was like, well, first of all, I'm not good in a big group setting. Second of all, I I feel like there should be some diversity of the movies that are being talked about as the best movie of the year
Hmm.
for the year-end wrap-up on Awards Watch. So this was pretty much my runner-up, along with a couple of others that kind of fell into
Yeah,
a
and
close.
we'll talk about those in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. The
So why
Mastermind.
why Kelly Reichardt's the mastermind?
Well, I love Kelly Reichardt.
Who doesn't?
Exactly. I don't think she does anything wrong. First Cow was First Cow was my favorite movie. I think it was 2020, I guess, which, a little bit of a light movie year that year anyway, but First Cow was like kind of blew me away. And I think that was the year that I actually like went deep into her the rest of her filmography, because I wasn't sure I'd actually seen much of her other work, and I've now seen every movie of hers, and they're all just there's not really a bad one in the bunch, honestly.
They're all really good.
Yeah,
even like Night Moves, you're like, wow, this is kind of interesting for her.
Yeah, no, like a great radical environmental thriller. Like, no, it's great, but thriller in the way that like a Kelly Reichardt movie is a thriller, which is
like this is like this is a heist movie for her.
Yes.
But it's her version of a heist movie.
Yes, which I like was fully prepared for going in. I was like, okay, like, and it's funny because you watch like the first like, maybe half hour or so, maybe 15, 20 minutes where like it kind of has a little bit more propulsion to it than you might be expecting from a Reichardt movie. But that's just because she's getting all the heist stuff out of the way early. And then the rest of the movie is just following around Josh O'Connor as JB, the titular mastermind, as he tries to like stupidly hustle his way out of this bad situation now that people are immediately closing in on him for doing this art heist, basically. And it's him running around Vietnam era America with this like shot with like this really beautiful kind of like hazy glow on the camera, all these great costumes that everyone's wearing. Josh O'Connor has all these beautiful sweaters throughout the movie, and it's like it has this really nostalgic look of kind of a later 20th century suburban Americana, but it is following this kind of privileged asshole as he tries to take advantage of every single person in his life to try to get them to help him out of this bad situation, because he has some kind of like I think he's such an interesting character as far as kind of pinpointing this kind of privileged malaise that I feel like a lot of like, upper class white dudes have, where they think they're owed something else than what they're already given. And so that's kind of, I feel like Josh O'Connor's character here kind of encapsulates that perfectly and turns this into a kind of a great political statement as well, especially as it doesn't start overtly referencing Vietnam or Nixon or anything, but as the movie kind of progresses on, you get the sense that, oh, this is definitely a movie that has that directly on its mind, especially with the ending. And it is very much a movie about that kind of American individualism versus actually like standing up for something greater than yourself. And like where, following someone that is doing the exact wrong thing as far as that goes. So I think it's a very interesting movie in that regard, and it kind of hit me in just the right way, especially as like, current politics, the current state of the economy, everything is run by individualistic, selfish assholes who thinks they are above and separated from everybody else. And so I think this movie kind of reaches a commentary about that in a way that maybe you're not expecting watching it going in, knowing what it's about, basically.
I think this movie is absolutely one of her best, and it's honestly one of her most contemporary examinations in quite some time, even though this is a period piece.
Yep.
I was thinking a lot about how, and I'm glad that somebody wrote about this. Robert Daniels wrote this excellent piece connecting this film, one battle after another. I want to say he connected Marty Supreme into it. If not, he can.
I was thinking going into this call, I was thinking about Marty Supreme in this movie, actually, and how they kind of connect to each other.
And there's this ongoing thread. There's in Eddington, I think. No, Eddington was the film that he tied into it about the white man's place in the world
Yep.
and what their status is, and how. And I didn't agree with most of the one battle stuff. I don't really think that the that is really at play so much there, or what I find it's there, but I don't think it's like the main focus of that film. That film has like 900 things going on that I
Yeah.
find far more interesting than that. But this movie, I think Kelly Reichardt is examining the past and trying to explore why the lazy young white male is how he is and how he can get through the world undetected without any repercussions whatsoever. Because, like, here's the thing, this guy, he comes from privilege, he has no job,
Yep.
he has a house and a family, he has the American dream.
He mooches off his mom.
He mooches off his mom, he mooches off his parents. He's got no talent to himself, even as a quote unquote heister or a thief. He's pretty terrible at it. And that's the thing, is like, once all that gets out of the way, it is about like this guy on the run, running away from his responsibilities, running away from being an adult, running away from actually hard work and the challenges of things. And I don't know if you caught this a lot, but to me it was screaming of like of the commentaries that run on social media sites and run on television about well, actually it's really tough to be a white man in this
Yes.
country. And I think Kelly Reichardt is examining how easy it is for a white man who is a criminal, who is on the lam, who is running away from running away from war and draft dodging that in a lot of ways, running away from this heist that he pulled off, running away from the responsibilities of his family, ripping off his family. That only a white man can get away with doing this, because everybody else that's surrounding him is not under the same set of rules. And I find that to be very fascinating, because we do live in a time where, you know, this is not a shot at someone like Chalamet, but and because I think he's great in Marty Supreme, and I think that that's a great film, and that's going under a different thing. But Reichardt is examining and poking the bear at at I think the culture that we have right now. I mean, the young white male online Republican persona is dominant in our figure. And what have they actually really done, and what kind of work have they actually accomplished, right, Trace?
Yes, yeah, and the fact that you pinpointed the fact that they also just have it so easy, and also conservative culture is now like kind of back in the mainstream to some degree, and yet still there's this victim complex of being a white man in America, where you have to kind of like, I don't know, they act like they are some kind of like rebellious group, and like some kind of leaders of the counterculture now, and it's just, and it's funny that you mentioned that how easy someone like Josh O'Connor has it in this movie, because really, like, obviously the plan goes wrong, bad things are happening to him in the movie, as far as like, the police are after him, there's like an organized crime outfit that's like after the paintings that abducts him and stuff, but really, like, he's kind of like ambling along from one place to another without getting in any real peril. And I don't know if we could spoil the end of this movie on the end of the year episode here.
If you haven't seen the Mastermind, stop listening. But otherwise, yeah, continue.
It's telling that the thing that finally gets him like arrested, and is probably going to finally send him to jail, because he will be caught, is that he joins in with a group of anti-Vietnam protesters trying to hide in plain sight with this with these protesters, and so it's kind of like, feigning their collective action to service himself. And I think there's something there about how he's not doing the hard thing, he started pretending to do the hard thing, and that was the thing that got him arrested. This is like the reality of what doing the hard thing is like these people taking collective action to the streets and speaking up for what they believe in against shitty stuff that's happening in America. And this is after that he like literally steals money from an old woman to try to further himself along even more. And so I do think there is a lot of that in there about that white American male privilege, basically. And the way it plays as a movie it's funny because I remember this movie was like I don't know, AMC does like secret screenings or something, and there's like a subreddit for it that sometimes I am like pushed.
Wait, was this a secret screening for
it was,
AMC?
It was like, it was like the screen unseen thing or whatever.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
You pay like $5 and you just go see. You don't know what movie it is, but it's a new release. And I
think they did like Song Sung Blue recently, and I wanted to, and I felt so bad for those people having to hear Hugh Jackman scream about it's Suleiman. Damn it, it's Suleiman.
Well, I mean, like this movie is very funny because I was looking at the reactions and literally every single person was like, worst movie I've ever seen, most pointless movie I've ever seen, didn't get it, nothing happened. And I'm like, yeah, like the way it plays as a movie is like it's 2 hours of just watching Josh O'Connor pretty like aimlessly just running around trying to get a foothold into anything he can.
Yeah, kind of fumbling his way through.
Yeah, which is like, it's funny. Like it's supposed to be kind of funny that this idiot is like immediately shot in the foot with trying to pull off what he conceives as this master plan as the mastermind, but actually he's just kind of this dumb idiot middle class white guy that has everything handed to him, but he thinks like that's not enough, and he thinks he's above that. Basically,
it's maybe the most ironic title of the year.
Yes,
it really is. It's a little bit like The Secret Agent, right? Because you go into The Secret Agent thinking, oh, is this like a spy thriller? And you're like, nope, that's not exactly what this whole thing is about. And I think that the Mastermind, though, it's Kelly Reichardt being like, this guy thinks he is Danny Ocean, but he's actually the guy that gets caught 5 minutes into the heist and can't like, and be like, he's like a guy that walks around would be like, I want to rob a bank sign right on his back. And I mean, and it's also just about and it's such a movie about privilege. Because of the fact that the war is going on in the background of all of this. And I think the Vietnam War. And, you know, they round up protesters at the end of this movie. And he kind of gets just like thrown in there. And he kind of like, what is it? You know, and it's so funny the way the movie ends. It ends almost like My Python, the Holy Grail a little bit, where it's just like, we're just going to like lock this thing up, you know, really, you know, and it's so funny the way it ends to me. But this guy is, again, making his way through the world without actually having to do anything.
Yep.
And isn't that the privilege of others, or like people that don't come from money, or they have a racial dynamic that's different than that of a middle class white man in the middle of this country, that they're the ones going off and fighting, or they're the ones going out there and making a difference and trying to fight against the political establishment and fight for change. And here's this guy that kind of represents a lot of our country, Chase, where he's essentially just like, none of that really is in my orbit, and none of that I have to care about, because my mom can write me a check, or I can go and do this heist with my boys and have no repercussions to him. There's really nothing to it. And because like, if the cops get me, I can just go to my friend's place. I can just go to the next town, and I can just disappear.
And
reinvent myself in a way that others just can't.
He has plenty of opportunity to fail upwards, as many white men do in this country.
Yes.
And he's also just perfectly estranged from like the reality of where the country's at, to the point where like the movie's almost structured like, it's almost structured like it's slowly being revealed to him that there's like unrest in the country as he like kind of goes further and further traversing it on his own stupid little plight basically until he ends up right in the thick of it and then arrested. He's because like, you know, it's not like he's getting drafted. It's not like he's in the thick of any of this. He is a suburban dad that has everything he could ever need, while the rest of the country is like sitting and, dealing with these problems that represent the start of the 1970s, basically following, all the counterculture stuff of the 60s. And so that, that dichotomy really kind of speaks to, a very kind of like modern sensibility still of how people like this still behave today, and the general idea of kind of an American individualism, basically. And still, I think the movie overall, despite like these very kind of heady political themes, I think it's really kind of a laid back watch. It's kind of a chill vibe. Like, I really kind of like just like fall into the picture in this movie with that kind of like glowy sense.
So you're the part of the problem, because I think that that's part of its genius also.
Yeah.
In that it lulls you into being a smooth 70s thriller, and yet it's deeply political.
Yep.
And it's kind of saying that like you want to hear the jazzy score, you want to see this throwback cinematography, you want to see all this stuff, and it doesn't it like Trace in a way like invoke the whole like like the idea of like we used to be a country.
It does, yeah. It's almost like kind of an ironic sense of nostalgia that it's presenting. Because like, look how great everything was, and like you have your central character and kind of what he represents, and it kind of like dismantles that fantasy. But it is nevertheless still like just a beautifully shot movie, and it does have such like just wonderful framing. Like I mentioned, I love all of the period details and costuming and everything like that. It's just, I find the textures of this movie from the visuals to the music, even to like the way the rhythms of the dialogue. Kelly Reichardt's scripts are usually pretty sparse as far as speaking. Sometimes they can, or at least kind of like slow rolling or laconic a bit. And that kind of has its own sort of rhythm that you really fall into here. I mentioned that I was thinking of Marty Supreme when I was thinking of this movie again, because it does kind of make me think of kind of like a slow rolling Safdie brothers movie where you're following this one guy who is like short-sightedly trying to hustle his way out of a situation. Basically, it's just that Kelly Reichardt's version is very is very much her. It is very much that slower, that just more kind of laid back, a little bit stepped away vibe, which I find really engaging. I feel like I saw the initial reactions to this from just from Cannes and some early screenings that people maybe were considering it kind of lesser Reichert, as it wasn't their favorite, but I don't know, like this is right up there with my favorites, honestly.
Can we talk briefly about the performer of the year in terms of body of work? That is Josh O'Connor.
Mr. Josh O'Connor, who
is in 4 films this year. 4 films,
yeah.
But 4 very different films. Have you seen all of them? Have you seen all 4?
I've only seen 2 of them, actually. I have not seen Rebuilding or the other one, the Paul Mescal movie.
The History of Sound.
Yeah.
So I think all of them are really good films. I think this one's the best one. I think this is his best performance.
Good to hear.
I know I'm more positive on Wake Up Dead Man than you are.
Yeah, although I rewatched it the other night and I liked it a little bit more than I did out of TIFF. I will say that.
I think we're going to get it up, and then we're going to bump up that score. It's just got so much to say inside a Knives Out movie of all things. It's kind of tough not to want to keep going back to that one. I think it's going to be one that you're going back to in the franchise.
I might try.
You know what I mean? I know the first one is like everybody loves that one.
Yeah.
I think this one's just the most interesting. It's the most you can take out of it in terms of themes, and
it's definitely got the most meat on the bone.
Yeah, and he is fantastic in that.
He's
movie.
Amazing in it. Yeah, I love, and I think, not to start talking about Wake Up Dead Man, but I do think rewatching Wake Up Dead Man, I'm like, oh, he is definitely the best like actual character with an arc that these movies have. Like he is the best character for you to actually latch onto. Yeah, so I appreciated that a little bit more rewatching it,
for sure. And then Rebuilding is just this beautiful Sundancey drama between a father and a daughter, and he's again really great in it. History of Sound, he's the supporting character to Paul Mescal's lead in that film.
Yeah.
He's not in it as much as I want, though. When he is on screen, it's like, oh, okay, this is no shot at Paul Mescal, but it's like, this is the energy that this movie needs.
Right.
And their chemistry is actually really, really good. And I saw The History of Sound at Cannes, and a couple of days later, I saw this one, and I went, that's the Josh O'Connor vehicle of the year. Like that,
Yeah.
that's the movie. Because like as much for Knives Out is his movie, there's still the Benoit Blanc of it all. There's still a lot of just that movie is so much Ryan Johnson and the things that he's wanting to talk about. And in this movie, it's a lot of it's Reichard. I mean, the whole construction of this is there, but she's wrapping it around one of the internet's boyfriends.
Yeah.
Who is also one of his generation's great actors. And he's fantastic in this because he's a bit of a chameleon this year. He can be just about anything you want him to be. And I think we've got the enough body of work to say, like, between Challengers last year and these 4 films, like, and also all of his work before that, he's slowly becoming one of the most exciting actors that we have working today, period.
Yeah, he's up there with my favorite up and coming stars. He fits so well into this movie because he kind of reminds me of some of those like 70s and 80s era stars, and he kind of fits into this 70s era vehicle. So
Got a little
much
Elliot Gould in him.
Yeah, like he has an interesting look. He's not like over, like, obviously he's a very handsome man, but he's not like Instagram handsome. I would try to describe it as, he's not like touched up handsome. He's just a good looking guy, but he does have an interesting look to him. And then, yeah, he's just a great performer. I love that this movie specifically kind of weaponizes that internet boyfriend stuff and turns him into kind of a cowardly, weaselly little shit. I think that's interesting. I appreciate that Josh O'Connor is a performer that's willing to play that kind of role. Like this is a role that kind of asks you to drop any semblance of ego, really, to kind of play someone that is such a coward. And he, the movie is very much built around him specifically. He carries every single scene, even when he's not saying that much. You can read so much into his kind of like, either like kind of reticent body language or the way he's trying to like kind of scuttle around and get to his next destination. It's all there in his performance. So it is really, as much as as great as the filmmaking and cinematography and music all is, Josh O'Connor is really helping carry the ideas of this script in his performance. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it, and it is really like, along with One Battle After Another year, it is Josh O'Connor year. 2025.
It is Josh O'Connor year. Girlies out there. Get ready for more of him in the new year. Trace, can you tell the listeners out there some of your other favorite films of the year, real quick, and then I want you to do something that everybody's doing as well. I want you to tell me your most anticipated film for 2026.
Oh shit! All right, I should have come prepared. I don't know.
I know, but I like to keep you guys off guard. I like to. That's why I didn't tell you guys any of this stuff.
All right. Well, obviously, Avengers Doomsday.
Somebody had to say it. You say that and you're going to end up fucking reviewing it. So just be careful what you wish for.
Okay. Well, as far as my other favorite movies this year, this was another one that I was maybe going to bring to talk about, but there was a scheduling conflict. And so I decided to talk about Mastermind instead, because I love this movie as well. Resurrection, I never know how to pronounce this director's name. Is it Bygone? Bygone. Okay. Yeah. I'd never heard it out loud.
Bygone.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Fantastic movie. Oh my gosh. I love this director. I love Calais Blues and Long Day's Journey to Night. And this is just another one where I went in, I didn't really know what I was expecting from it. And he's just such a beautiful visual stylist that you're just enraptured in whatever he's making. And this has the final hour of Resurrection is like maybe some of my absolute favorite filmmaking of the year, really. Like that oneer of that last segment is just so amazing. And then otherwise, also really loved Eddington, honestly. Divisive, but it's really up there for me.
You and Jay, the white boys, really loving some Eddington this year.
We loved it. Me and Jay got to get together and talk about Eddington. It's funny though, because I didn't even really, I didn't like Beau is Afraid at all. Really, it was okay, but it just wasn't my thing. And so I'm not like a diehard Astor head or anything. Really, I like his movies generally. I like Hereditary. I like Midsummer enough. But yeah, Eddington just like really, it kind of did something for me. And then other than that, Marty Supreme, No Other Choice, Blue Moon, Ethan Hawke might have my other like favorite performance of this year, maybe. I love Ethan Hawke in that movie. Sorry Baby was great. Ephus, we need to get some Ephus talk on this show.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of great stuff this year. It's been a good movie. Naked Gun, oh my gosh.
Oh man,
yeah.
Don't even get me started on Naked Gun.
Don't get me started on it. So, and then I would say for 2026, I mean, really, maybe it's just recency bias because they just dropped the trailer. But I'm going to be excited for the new Steven Spielberg film starring Josh O'Connor.
I was just going to say, it kind of makes sense if that's your pick, because this is going to be the chance for a mass audience to see him in something truly big, I think, for the first time.
Yeah. Also the Odyssey. Sorry, that was the other thing.
No, you only could get one film. You picked Disclosure Day. You want to say the Odyssey?
Okay. I picked Disclosure Day. Actually.
Okay, all right.
Because I'm excited to see Spielberg going back to sci-fi.
It's very nostalgic for all of us. Like, yes. We all get to see him go back to that. He's been making the paper and with the Post, and he's been, well, that's what they call it. That's what I call it. I always call it the paper, because they're like, where are the papers? You got the papers there? Where are the papers? The
paper is the Domhnall Gleeson program.
Yeah, it's the same. Could you imagine if Steven Spielberg did the television show The Paper? That would be really funny. That would be hysterical. A lot of close-ups and Tom Hanks.
I have this great idea for the spin-off to The Office.
Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, and you start on the beaches of Normandy. Anyway, Trace, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet?
Yes, you can find me on Letterboxd at Trace Sauveur, and writing around at some places. AwardsWatch a lot, sometimes AV Club. Sometimes that stuff now gets reposted to Paste's movie section if it's from AV Club, because Paste's movie section closed. That's really about it. That's where I am. Watch out now. Take up your word for swingers. Dropping all around you. The pain that often mingles in your fingertips. Beware of darkness. Watch out.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Griffin Schiller
What's up? How's it going?
and Cody Dericks.
Hello.
Oh my God, you guys are here. We're talking about weapons. Zach Cregger, weapons. You guys chose this. It's not your number one film of the year,
No.
but we did this for variety's sake.
Shockingly, it was my number one of the year for like over half the year.
It was his number one probably up until like the last couple of weeks, I would say.
Yeah,
Right,
I would say,
Griffin?
until I saw Marty Supreme, and then that kind of like took its
telling
place.
you.
But
White Boy Fever, the movie.
White
Marty
Boy
Supreme.
Fever, they say.
But
It was
Cody,
a white boy.
your favorite was One Battle After Another.
Yeah, and we, peek behind the curtain. I feel like we all were kind of. You said how many people said that was their number one on the site? 9?
About like six
somewhere like
six
that.
to seven.
Right.
Six, seven.
And
You know.
stop it. And like most people said they would talk about it, so I was like, let me talk about something else.
It's true.
Talk about something spooky. It's my brand.
Exactly. But I feel like if I was going to have a weapons conversation, which needed to happen for the end of the year show, these were the perfect two people to talk about it with. Someone who wrote the damn review up on the website, was all over the social media, calling it one of the best films of the year, and Griffin Schiller. And Cody Dericks, who has been a massive defender of this, who I've listened to on multiple podcasts, have to defend the merits of this movie against people that don't know what they're talking about when it comes to this movie. So it's nice to have some people talk about a movie I genuinely think is one of the most fascinating, complex, awesome movies of the year, and maybe the surprise of the year, in my opinion. Because I don't think any of us saw, when we were doing this last year, we could not have dreamed that this movie even probably existed, but even if we knew that this was coming out, that it would be this good, and it would be what we would be talking about as one of the best films to end the year. So, Cody,
I'm remember when it was originally supposed to be released, like this upcoming January?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about it.
We wouldn't be talking about it. Well, I mean, we would be talking about it because if this movie had come out in January, same film, we'd be obsessing over it. We wouldn't talk about the Oscars. We wouldn't talk about anything. We would be talking about, I mean, Cody would have to be on the One Battle episode. Griffin would have had to talk about Marty Supreme, but instead we're here. So, Cody, I'm going to ask you first, why is this one of the best films of the year?
I just think in terms of melding genres and tones and navigating its way through those, Zach Cregger handles this so well. This movie is as funny as it is scary. If somebody were to call this a horror comedy, I don't think that would be inaccurate. And I just think in terms of what horror can do and does, this movie somehow finds a way to mine originality, which is increasingly rare, not just in horror films, but in movies in general. Couple that with the fact that it is genuinely scary. I had some real good jumps. I remember at my press screening, at one point, I literally threw my pen into the air, and I don't know where it went. So I couldn't keep any notes for the rest
which
of the
moment
movie.
was it?
It was towards the end when they're in the when she's in the basement, and she's kind of like hunched over.
Oh, when he's looking through the kids?
Yes. And she just
that's
goes,
a really good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one.
It would be like, it could have been a horror movie from 100 years ago. It's just something that always works. And the ending, the last chapter, I think is just kind of a triumph of crafted entertainment. It is so enjoyable and satisfying and well made, well shot, well performed. And on top of all that, of course, Amy Madigan is giving one of the performances of the year. And I think something that's gotten lost in the conversation about her, because people are just talking about how good she is and how worthy of all the awards she's getting and will continue to get this season, is that she was a complete unknown factor when this movie was first being released. I saw it at my press screening and I didn't even know she was going to be in it, who this person was when she showed up. She's not in any of the marketing, really. And then she becomes the talking point of the film totally organically, which I think just goes to further prove how good she is and how important she is for the film's success. I dressed up as her for Halloween. I know I'm not alone in that. And I think just getting to see the appreciation for her performance that's come her way has been so satisfying to not just myself for this movie, but for horror in general, which is so often disrespected when it comes to awards. Awards are obviously not the be-all, end-all, but, here at AwardsWatch, that's going to be something we talk about. So it's just been really satisfying seeing this film get the appreciation it deserves.
Griffin, I remember you seeing this movie before I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like about a week or so before I saw it. I remember you texting me pretty much saying like, dude, this movie fucking rules. And being like, because you and I were we saw the trailer, we were anticipating this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Griffin, who does not write a lot of reviews for us on the website, I'm just going to point that out. That's not a knock on him. He just does. He does other content for us.
Yeah.
He put all his thoughts into one of the best reviews on the site this year. So passionate about this thing. and talked about why this is the movie.
Yeah,
and why it rules. And so we all kind of know that you love this movie, Griffin, but I'm pretty sure you've seen it a couple more times since.
Yeah, no, I saw it
and
a
you've
lot.
wrestled
Yeah.
and you've wrestled with this thing for a while. So what stuck
Mm-hmm.
out about with you as you've had time with it now?
I definitely agree with the tone aspects of it. I mean, it is kind of miraculous how he does balance between just like such like tones, like between the horror and the comedy, which I guess are two ends of the spectrum, but he never does it in a way that feels like they don't meld together. And we saw a bit of that with Barbarian too, which was another film that really just like kind of took me by surprise, and I was like, holy shit, what is this? And who is this guy? Like Zach Kreger, the Whitest Kids You Know guy, but like, I mean, I didn't know he was capable of that. And then with Weapons, I mean, I was probably a little bit more familiar with it going into it, just because it had kind of been like this huge, like, oh, what is this film? Like everyone's kind of signing up to be in this movie. There was like a bidding war with Jordan Peele, like firing his managers over not getting
those people are not having a good Christmas.
No, they're not. Yeah. And all this stuff. And I was like, I had friends who saw test screenings of it, and they were just like, dude, this movie, like, what the hell? So it was like, I was aware that like this was it was going to be like something unexpected. And I, again, because of Barbarian, but also like all this hype. But even then, man, sitting down to watch it, I was just, I think they're capable, because I'm one of the, I take notes when I go to see movies, and like I can usually tell if a movie is like extra good if I just like, if I have to put my notebook down and just completely let the thing just like wash over me. And that happened to me during Weapons. I mean, that was just like every twist and turn, the way the narratives intersected. I mean, Austin Abrams, by the way, in a section of the movie that I don't think people are give enough credit. I think they're like, oh, why was it in there? And it's just sort of like, what? You don't understand how that, like, how this kind of ties into the whole just like tapestry of the whole thing. I don't know, that kind of blew my mind, but he is so funny. Like that section is absolutely hilarious. The slapstick nature of it, just like the back and forth between him and then Alden Ehrenreich in one of his best roles to date outside of like Oppenheimer. And then the Gladys of it all, which again was something that, like Cody was saying, just like came out of nowhere, and yet she, like in the past, like however many months, like half a year since the film came out, she's become like a new horror icon. And it to his point, it's been like purely organic. Like there wasn't anything forced onto us. It's one of those weird things where withholding this character, withholding, her role in the film or whatever, actually kind of paid dividends. So, and then on top of that, I think the thing that really, what I loved about it, and I know this wasn't necessarily Kreger's intention with the film, because I know like he was using it as a way to process with the grief of or process the grief of the loss of one of his friends. I'm forgetting the comedian's name, but it's so like this was him kind of like mining his own internal issues within the different ways we grieve. But to me, it just felt like such a sharp critique of the way these communities, these suburbs kind of react in the fallout of a tragedy like this, whether it's a mass shooting or like a child disappearance or whatever. I mean, obviously like the gun violence metaphor is kind of very obvious in there and whatnot. And I think some people have perhaps read too much into it, but like there's no denying its impact on the overall thing. But I think more so than that, it is about the way we kind of treat one another, the way we dehumanize one another and kind of like silo ourselves in it when these things happen, and are looking to point blame in places where perhaps blame is not shouldn't be pointed in. And so you see people like Julia Garner's Mrs. Gandy, and she just becomes like this town pariah because it's like easy to point your finger at the teacher. It's like, oh, why did you save my kids? Like, what did you do to my kids? And without necessarily understanding the larger scope of it all. And then you have like the abusive law enforcement agents who have their own shit that they're kind of like taking out on the community. I mean, you have you have like people like Austin Abrams' character, who I think is that's more or less someone who has been just like failed by the system at large. And so you have all of these interesting I guess these people that represent larger aspects of the community that I think Kreger is perhaps unintentionally, but I would say a little bit more intentionally than he's perhaps led on. He's exploring them in that way. So I don't know. It's just, I found it to be just like very, very current, very unflinching in what it was trying to say. But like all that aside, it's just a really fun, entertaining movie. You know, like I think it just, it hits all those boxes where it's like, it's thrilling, it's shocking, it's surprising, it's really well written. People feel drawn from real life. Like there's relatable aspects to them. The way the narrative unfolds, the like kind of Magnolia style storytelling, I thought was genius. It never felt like it was going back and like repeating stuff in an unnecessary way. So, yeah, I don't know, just like a lot of thoughts in there. I mean, obviously I have my review on the site, but I just think it's a very, very brilliant film.
So Griffin hyped it up for me when I went into the theater. Some other people did as well. And to Griffin's point, I usually like to take notes. But, you know, there was something about it, and I didn't have to redo the review. Griffin was going to knock it out for us. So I got to just go to the press screening because we were going to do a podcast about it. I just kind of sat back here and watched the movie. And I like to get comfortable in these seats. If you've ever been to an Alamo Drafthouse, you know that some of them can recline. And so about 20, 30 minutes into the movie, I put my feet down from the recliner. And I was like that meme of, you know, when the guy is like fully, like where you see it, like where it's from his sitting upward to like leaning forward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was pretty much at the literal edge of my seat by the last 15 minutes of this thing. And the cackle, I kind of self-let out to myself seeing the finale. It was one of like, wow, this is finally a movie that absolutely sucked the landing from a movie that like from films that, you know, you get high concepts in horrors nowadays in movies that, you know, we are living in the era of horror movies having high concepts. And some of them have really great, really solid endings that fit within the story, fit within just within time. There's also a ton of them that just absolutely suck because they spend so much time building up a great world. And then by the end of it, you're just like, you rushed this. And you had so much creativity and you had really good scares. And yet this guy, Zach Kreger, understands tone, timing, patience with an audience. He did this a lot with Barbarian. I think this movie is like that elongated opening sequence at the Airbnb, but let's do this for like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And let's just slowly drip the drain until by the end, it's a full-on just burst of water. And it's just cascading over and over again with so much entertainment and sick horror and joy and questions. This movie has fundamentally the most questions. And I think for people, they were frustrated because they didn't get answers. Or they did get answers and they weren't enough answers. Or for some people, it didn't ask enough questions. And it became a Rorschach test for everybody. And it became a moment of conversation. And I embrace those things. Some people want to just call it nothing. Because if it's not about something, it's about nothing. And this isn't a Seinfeld episode. This is art. And so within it meaning multiple things. And Cody, I've heard you talk about it. I think this is really, after losing David Lynch this past year, a pretty Lynchian idea, not in terms of its weirdness. Hear me out. Because I don't like bringing up this phrase. I don't like bringing it up. but it's from his philosophy of how we talk about movies. That's where it lies within Lynchian canon. Because David Lynch would not explain his movies to an audience. He never said why Eraserhead was his most personal film. He didn't explain the 9,000 things that go on in Mulholland Drive, or whatever the hell Inland Empire is, or what is going on in Twin Peaks: The Return. He never explained those. He listened to what we think it is, and everybody interprets those films differently. Mm-hmm. And when you watch this film, there's multiple ways you can examine it. You're right, Griffin. You can examine this through just plain simply how Kreger came up with the idea of this movie, about a vessel for grief to heal himself after the loss of a dear friend.
Yeah.
You can also talk about this, about being how the elder generations are stealing the ability of the youth to prosper within this country and this world. You can talk about the divisive nature and the witch hunting we want for answers, much like the witch hunting people wanted for answers for this movie, to Miss Gandy. It's about addiction. It's about doing the right thing. It's about the most insidious things in our minds being taken over. It's about controlling people that are considered less than, and how you fight back against that. It's about tragedy and what happens to a community. Like you said, Griffin, that doesn't have to be a full-on school shooting. It's, I mean, the conversations about the gun in the sky, it means multiple things.
Yeah.
Or it just also means that it's there. I don't know what the dumpster witch in Mulholland Drive means, but I know
I do. She's my good friend.
Oh, she was there at the party with you. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Man,
I got you.
We'll DM each other. We'll follow each other on Instagram. But I know that it works within the context of that movie.
Yeah.
And it made me feel something. It made me think of it. And what I think of that film, all jokes aside, is different than what Cody might think of it. What different than Griffin might think of it. And there's maybe a universal theme attached to it, but it's going to evoke and pull things out of you. That's why, outside of my number one film and Cody's number one film of the year, I think this is the most fascinating film of the year. And it comes from a studio that, honestly, we talk about one battle after another, and we talk about Sinners as being giant risks. This is their biggest risk.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and
because
it paid off, man.
It paid off because you don't really have a movie star. There's no Leonardo DiCaprio and Michael B. Jordan attached to this thing. Like, I love Julia Gardner, and I think Josh Brolin had a great year, but there's not a movie star here. And really, you're relying on child performances and an actress, a great veteran actress performance that you're not going to market at all. And yet, the concept and the genre was what carried it to then the further conversations. And yes, Amy Madigan is absolutely one of the best performances of the year. She's incredible in this movie. She's terrifying. Is she borrowing from Rosemary's Baby? Probably. Does she elevate her own stuff in the process of borrowing? Sure, because everybody does that. Every filmmaker alive does that. So for me, I think it's so goddamn good. And it plays so much better on a rewatch. And when you know the secrets, or you know the jump scares in this movie, watching it with people that haven't seen it is one of the great experiences I've ever had in a theater, because I took my wife to see this movie. She only saw the trailer, was freaked out by the trailer. Great trailer. She then watched the film. I sat back. The scene that got her was the one in the truck when Julia Garner's asleep after she's been drinking, and the mom climbs into the truck, and from that moment she was hooked. Like, if she wasn't already hooked, she was audibly going, what the fuck? And from that point on, it just buys in, and it's going to click in for you at different moments. it's a fucking wonderful film. And it's the one I feel like I have to defend the most. Like, I feel like I have to defend this very popular film from people because it's not hard to be challenged by things. It's honestly easier to reject things these days than it is to be challenged by things. And I think because it's not from a massive auteur filmmaker that people just kind of shrugged it aside. I think Kreger is announcing himself with this movie as a, not only with Peele as a master of genre, and clearly Jordan Peele was pissed about not having this film, and I can understand why when you watch it.
Yeah.
But you're understanding that, like, okay, this is a guy now, after Barbarian, which I thought was pretty good, didn't quite stick the landing for me. This one does. I will follow this man into the dark. Literally into darkness.
I was pretty amazed, especially because Barbarian was such a, impressive debut for a lot of people's, perception of him as a person in general, besides just a filmmaker. And a lot of times that second feature is tough. Even if it is something that's well received and might, like, I think of Jordan Peele's Us, which is my favorite of his movies. But for a lot of people, I think most people would put that number 3 of his films. And I think
it's my second favorite.
The escalation here is what's really impressive, because a lot of the same ideas and techniques from Barbarian are in Weapons. They're just dug into a little deeper, which is what you want to see from your filmmakers when they continue to make movies.
You just give him more resources at this point for a second film, right?
Yeah, I think so. You bring up the Lynch comparison. The other thing that I feel like is very Lynchian about this film is just his disdain for the suburbs. Is the erosion of just like the heartland of the in the like how like darkly comedic it is. I think the absurdity of it is really what reminds me of Lynch. I mean, I think of the flashback scene in Barbarian and yeah, the idea of these houses that were once prominent, these neighborhoods that were once prominent, just completely decrepit now, and like what is the rot that kind of exists beneath it. You get that here even more so, I would argue. And a more like kind of well-rounded critique of the environment of
the rotting is more within the humanity rather than in the infrastructure. This go around.
Yeah, but in the way he utilizes infrastructure in order to convey these ideas, I found to be very effective. I mean, I think I mentioned it in my review, but it was just like he finds the banality of suburbia very discomforting, and I think he makes the audience feel equally as discomforted by that. Especially if you're someone who grew up in a suburb or something like that, you're just like, yeah, this is pretty fucked. This is weird. There's so many things that are just like off kilter about the whole thing, and all you have to do is point a camera in a direction and just let it sit. Like I think that's the thing he does so well, is just the stillness, the way he utilizes space, and he's like unafraid to just linger. I mean, it kind of reminded me a bit of what Lee Winnell did with The Invisible Man, but like to greater effect here. But yeah, I don't know. He's got a lot of ideas, and I love that he's explored them the way he has. And I love that he's not giving away everything, right? Like he's like, oh yeah, it was a way for me to process the grief of, and I don't doubt the sincerity of that. I do believe.
No, I believe him.
Yeah, the heart of the film came from. But I think it was also, it unlocked like a whole like ecosystem of just like, well, we couldn't help this if like, society couldn't help my one friend. Like, what does that say about us as like a whole or something?
It's hard not to when you start with something and you expand it.
Yeah.
And it maybe is an image on TV, or maybe it's consciously or subconsciously. It's not. I mean, when I was talking about the film earlier in the year, I was telling people, I'm like, so what would be better for the film for you to go see it? Would you like him to just say out loud that it's about guns? And about school shootings? Because guess what? When people 9 times out of 10 are told something is about something, they reject it, or they go in with, if I told you that some movie is the greatest movie of all time, then guess what? When more people start seeing it, I guess they're going to start thinking, well, this better be the greatest movie of all time. And if it's not, then I guess that quote was a lie. Yeah. And, so I think that for me, he talked about it from the way that made total sense, which is like, and I believe him. I don't think that, to your point, Griffin, he's trying to pander.
No.
That is one way of doing it, and you could tell in speeches or in interviews if some of that, PR speak was going to fall through. It didn't, because he talked about it consistently. And I listened to him big picture. I listened to him on interviews and throughout, where he talked about where this came from. And then, yes, he talked about, like, if that is what you want to take into this film, it's in the audience's hands. And the audience is the one that decides whether or not this is fascinating or not. I think the fact that this became such a hit proved his point.
Yeah.
Is that people kept going back. I mean, besides the fact that the genre has been so popular the last couple of years, it is truly, I mean, Cody does a horror podcast. This has got to be like your Super Bowl. Like, you're in a dynasty era of horror movies, right? Where that is the genre that is, if you want to make money, make a horror movie. If you're an auteur person that wants to talk about society, make a horror movie. Look at The Substance. Look at Jordan Peele. Look at Kreger. I mean, hell, you don't even have to go that deep. You can make a Conjuring movie and it makes $500 million in a blink of an eye. And so I just remember seeing that, and I was like, wait, how much did that Conjuring movie make? $500 million? Like, and we just, nobody even talks about it. Like, it's just, and so it's crazy to me. But, we live in a world where we live in the elevated horror world of it all. And for me right now, I'm like, this is actually even better. This is an elevated horror. This is fucking entertaining horror. There's no like, oh, grief and trauma, or like at the, yeah, that's the start of all this. But then how do you process that in your art, and you make something that is, one, entertaining, thought-provoking, try to be original in its own sense, and try to, and has a wicked sense of humor to it, like most great horror films do. Like, it has all these things, and yes, to your point, he's juggling all this stuff, and he lands a lot of it, if not all of it. And that's what's so fucking impressive about it. Cody?
I guess for me, when it comes to what a filmmaker has to say about their work, I don't want to be rude, but I don't really care. I'm very much, and the author's dead. You put the art out there, which, to your point, Ryan, I know I was kind of poo-pooing your David Lynch comparison, but I understand what you mean about, like, what was so great about him was that, among many things, he let the art speak for itself pointedly. Yes. I think it was a little bit of, he wants to let the mystery be and all that, but I think the films have more power when people are allowed and able to bring whatever perception or understanding they want to it and from it. And I feel that way about Weapons, where I don't really care what Zach Kreger has to say about it. Like, I understand the origins of how he made the movie, how he got to this point, but I don't really care what he has to say about the floating gun. I don't really care what he has to say about what this movie means now that it's done and out there, because I have my own ideas about it. And the funny thing about horror is that, yes, there was this wave of, if you want to call it elevated horror, in the past, let's say 12 years.
I call it more indie horror. It's not elevated. It's just indie. It's made by studios for $5 to $10 million.
Yeah, exactly. But the distinction was, people weren't looking at them with the same level of dismissiveness as they were for something like, let's say, Paranormal Activity or the Saw films.
Correct.
But for me, horror always has the ability to reflect upon either the current moment or humanity in general, even the schlocky stuff. I have a read on the Saw movies that this is our response to the invasion of Iraq. Like, there is something to be found in all levels of horror. I think just a lot of lately, what we've seen is they've been dressed up in the trappings of prestige, whether that is more thoughtful, deliberate pacing, especially, or the cinematography is more specifically composed as opposed to found footage. And to me, like, sure, if that's what you need to feel better about liking this movie, about putting this horror movie in your top 10, then fine. I'm just glad you watched it. But there's something to be found in all levels of horror. And I think Weapons is the kind of perfect bridge of that, where it's this major studio horror movie that first and foremost wants to entertain.
Yes.
And secondly, you can derive so much meaning from what this movie is going for. There are so many layers of possible metaphor, but you don't have to explore that to still enjoy it, as opposed
You
to a
don't
lot
have
of
to.
horror movies
Yeah.
where if you don't bring something from the real world, like I think of It Follows, which I more respect than enjoy, but it's a movie that like you have to think about what it's saying to enjoy the film. And I'm not saying I'm not advocating for like brain dead audiences here, but there is ability for everybody to get something out of Weapons.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it is a very provocative film. I mean, like I think everyone has, like we've kind of been talking about, everyone has their own take on like the meaning of it and whatnot, but it seemed like there was a lot of pushback. I don't know, some of it felt disingenuous and some of it didn't, but like a lot of people were just like, oh, I was just expecting it to be better, or oh, I was expecting it to be more, oh, I was expected to be like surprised or shocked or whatever. And like, I don't know, man, if you go into this and you aren't like on the edge of your seat, genuinely like stunned by things that are going on here, or like having any kind of reaction, like I really hate to say this, but it's like maybe you don't like movies, or maybe you're looking at like maybe you're looking for wrong things in movies, because that was like the one thing that I didn't really understand. People were just like, oh, it's overhyped, oh, it's whatever. And listen, I get it, because like they fucking plastered my quotes all over the place for that thing. So
I was sick of seeing you.
Yeah, I was sick of seeing me too. It was on every fucking
I was like,
Instagram.
good Lord.
Yeah,
he's everywhere.
But like to be like. It was like the only reason I said those things was just because it was a genuine reaction. I was just I couldn't believe what I had just watched, and the roller coaster I went on. And so
it's kind of one of those that just breaks your brain after you see it. I have no words to articulate.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
this is.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could having a conversation about how marketing overhypes things is that can be separate from this. But I don't know. I can't. Like holding this movie accountable for like what the marketing does. Like, I don't know. I've never really bought into that kind of thing. Even if marketing is overhyping the hell out of something, when I go see a movie, I don't really give a shit about the marketing. I'm just going to like sit and process what I'm watching. And if I'm engaging with something and it's moving me in a way, if it's eliciting reactions out of me, like involuntarily, which this movie like so much of this movie did, I don't know. It's what I think everyone tries to like have like a very curated take on these kinds of things. Like they're sort of like, oh, well, this is what this person, this is what these people are saying. It's like, I have to try and find like the nuance in here and like, yeah, like be a nuanced critic. But like sometimes like, man, just let the emotion just kind of like wash over you, right? Just
go on the ride, just run through the streets with your hands moving. Just like you're a kid going into a dark void. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
and
for
like,
sure.
Even something like the Austin Abrams side plot, which I know so many people like were like, yeah, you could have taken that out of the movie, and I think that's ridiculous.
There's like 20-30 minutes I could take out of Marty Supreme, and that's a movie you love, Griffin. But that's to the point. It's like
it's an enjoyable section. Like that section packs some of the best like comedic beats in the entire film. The character, like I think Austin Abrams is just like
the only cast member to be carried over from the original casting too.
Right.
Which is also, I think, what is a kind of minor miracle of this movie. In its existence.
Well, it's funny because all the original cast members for this movie, I can't.
It would have been. I think it would have been a worse movie. Like, no offense to Pedro Pascal, but like, Jesus Christ, no, because there's something.
Over Josh Brolin.
There's something about
what the fuck.
There's something about Brolin's menacing persona that plays really well into it.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
totally.
I think that for me, watching how we talked about One Battle and how we've talked about Sinners. I think they were treated with a different set of rules than Weapons was. And that also has to do somewhat with genre, but somewhat also with the creators. And I think people being more trustworthy with filmmakers like Coogler and PTA and Kreger being so new. But I think going forward, like, this guy is going to be a big deal for the next 10 to 15 years. He's making a Resident Evil movie, which I couldn't care less about Resident Evil whatsoever. Hang on. Man, Cody's like wanting to like kill me today. I could care less about that as an IP property, but I give so much of a shit about it now because he's attached to it. I care
Yeah.
because
Have you seen the
he's-
Resident Evil movies?
I actually was going to buy the Resident Evil box set and give them a shot before. Listen, I have in my capacity one like trash of our generation horror vehicle to watch this year because I like to add new watch experiences and franchises to my year. And it's either that or going back down the Saw vehicle. And I'm thinking going down the Resident Evil vehicle because of this man, because of what he's doing. And I have massive respect for him. I have massive respect for him for dropping out of whatever Netflix film he was just about to do because they couldn't give him the theatrical experience that he wanted. This guy clearly understands what audiences like, and therefore it was just nice to see the birth of a new voice, like a very confident voice. Cody, to your point, like, this is a second film that's so confident.
Yeah.
This is like Jordan Peele. It's like I can understand why Peele wanted it because Lord knows his production company needs a hit, and this would have been like the biggest one because this movie's wild. It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's so good.
To your point about the other auteurs, I do think there is something to be said about going into a movie when you have like a longer resume and you understand what that artist has kind of explored on a macro level. And I think, with Kreger, like
even with James Gunn and Superman, like it's still James Gunn.
Yeah. 100%. And that movie definitely engages with a lot of those ideas. But I think with this, it's like all we have is Barbarian to go off of, and all we know is that it was like, holy shit, that was just like a shocking movie where halfway through it becomes something else. And so with this, you're kind of going in with a superficial, just like, oh, what's the twist going to be this time? But then when you watch the movie, you're like, oh wow, these two films are really in conversation with ideas and just like pinpointing the hypocrisy and the absurdity of society in different ways. And so, like you sort of said, Ryan, like I do think this is as strong of a sophomore effort as what Jordan Peele had, to the point where it's like, I now know what a Zach Kreger film is. I know the ideas he's interested in exploring, and I can't wait to see how he's going to expand that exploration going forward, even in a franchise film like Resident Evil or whatever. So it's so confident. It's so confident and unashamedly just like who he is. Like he's not there's no restraints here. He hasn't had to make compromises really, and I admire the hell out of that.
Yeah. Cody, anything else you want to mention?
I'm excited for Resident Evil. I think those movies, I'm sure this is going to be a complete departure from what came before.
Yeah.
But those first 6 movies are insane, and they get crazier and crazier as they go until it's really very much its own thing. As somebody who's played the games, they really don't resemble in like tone or energy the games at all. They're very much their own thing.
It's an original story supposedly from within the IP, so he's kind of doing his own thing again. He's charging his own path, and I admire the hell out of it, very much so. I want to give one last. We got to finish off this conversation one last time by mentioning Amy fucking Madigan in this movie. Probably the most iconic character of 2025.
Yeah,
which says something because we had a lot of big movies this year. Cody, if you could speak about her performance real quick. I mean, like her performance in this movie is iconic already. It is now a horror legend, and there's just something about that wig and something about that makeup the first time you see it. And you kind of, like when you see it the second time, you finally, like when they interrogating the kid, and you don't really notice it at first because you're so locked into the narration, but then you can kind of see her in glimpses, and she's in people's dreams. She's got maybe one of the funniest moments of the year outside of anything in The Naked Gun, where she jump scares Josh Brolin, and Josh Brolin wakes up from the dream and yells, "What the fuck?" And it's just the way that he delivers it. But Cody, talk a little bit more about Ariane Gladys.
So the thing about horror is that I think it lives, dies, and has a legacy due to successful, iconic in the very definitional sense of iconic imagery. So you think of things like Michael Myers' mask, Freddy's glove, things that can easily be replicated in your nightmares. And I think that Aunt Gladys fits right in with that, with the clown-like makeup, that crazy wig, things like the twigs. There are very specific, there's like a list of like 5 to 10 things you can immediately ascribe to Aunt Gladys after watching the movie one time, which really speaks to the conciseness of her characterization, especially because she doesn't show up until I think an hour and 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah,
And then she
as a
becomes
full
the thing.
character.
Yes.
Because
And
she,
then she
because we
becomes,
see her,
you don't see her face rather,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
she's
yeah.
not introduced as a person.
Yeah.
So she becomes the thing you talk about when the movie's done, which again, to an earlier point, she wasn't even in the freaking marketing.
No.
And Amy Madigan gets to play so much with this character. Yes, there's the ridiculous over-the-top characterization you see in that first scene with the principal, but also there's the scene she has with her nephew, maybe not her real nephew, who knows, where she's talking about where she has the micro brains and she's talking about, if you get these things for me, you can help me and then I can leave. And you have almost a bit of sympathy for her in that scene just because of the energy that she's exuding. And Zach Cregger's framing of her is very pitiable in that one moment. But Amy Madigan, in every scene, she brings a different type of energy in regards to what she needs to accomplish in that scene. So she clearly did her work. She didn't look at this as sort of a disposable character. This is something that she really invested her everything into. And again, the satisfaction you get at the end of that movie does not happen if you do not have a fully flushed out character in Aunt Gladys to kind of feel that catharsis of watching her literally get ripped apart.
Do you want to see more?
No.
I
I think
don't
what we
either.
get from her is all I need.
enough.
I'm not somebody who needs backstory. I actually don't even want it. I think the mystery is what makes her even
That's
scarier.
what makes this movie great.
Yeah.
Because she's telling I'm not trying to say they're the same person. But as you know, the way she talks, like they talk about her, like she's your aunt or she's my aunt or she's, my mom's sister.
I haven't
or
seen her
there's-
since I was a kid.
haven't seen her since I was a kid and all these different, and like the story keeps changing as to how they're actually like related to her or how they like know her or, she's a complete stranger. It was very similar to like how Heath Ledger talks about how he got his scars in The Dark Knight, about this mysteriousness about this character that you're not handed everything. So you have to assume that this is a very unreliable narrator, and that adds to the tension and it adds to the lore of who the character is, but it adds to the tension as to what experience am I on? What is this entity that has attached themselves to this community, to this town that is now lingering and processing these and terrifying the thoughts of so many and affected to this case. So I think of it, she's the pure personification of evil that's in our world and how we let it take over ourselves. And that hits through the suburbia, but then it also just hits through schools and small town businesses and in our police departments and all these different things that sort of then corrupts the entire place at large. So I just think that adding more, like the Adventures of Gladys, like I don't need to see that shit. Like it's great the way it is and the way he sets it up, and so I'm perfect with just enough Aunt Gladys that I got here because I can go back to this wonderful film and get so much. Griffin and Cody, we've had this really good conversation. Griffin, I'm going to ask you real quick, and Cody, I'm going to ask you the same thing as well. What are some of your favorite other films of 2025? Griffin, I'll start with you.
For me, it's I think I've landed on Marty Supreme as my number one. I watched it again last night and it was a 10:45 showing and I was just completely enthralled and locked in. So that one,
better than an espresso shot.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love the Safdie so much. So, so that one battle after another, obviously, I think just kind of the movie of the year, really. Weapons, F1, dude. Like, let's talk about F1 for a second. Like, just as a fucking like sports summer crowd pleaser with Brad Pitt, insane racing sequences. God, just what a fucking rush, and also just a better version of Top Gun Maverick than Top Gun Maverick.
Whoa,
So,
what a take.
maybe a hot take there. 28 years later, I feel like has gotten a little bit forgotten, and I'm hoping that with the Bone Temple, people will be like, oh yeah, like 28 years later, fucking ruled. Sinners, Wake Up Dead Man, just, yeah, I don't know. Those are some. Oh, actually, sorry. The last one I'll say, another one that I feel like just kind of got forgotten about, came out earlier in the year. Black Bag.
Yeah.
Dude, Black Bag. Come on. That's,
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
So good.
Exactly. So good. Makes you want to go to a dinner party. Cody?
Yeah.
Black Bag's in my top 10 too, so I'm
Mine
right there
too.
with you.
It's in my top 10.
Yeah.
One Battle is the film of the year. Yeah, it's generational. It's, it's the first thing I've given a 10 out of 10 to since Parasite. So
It's better than
that
that
tells you
movie
what you need
too.
to know about it. No Other Choice was a great time. It was the best thing I saw at Venice by a mile. Thank God for that movie, because otherwise that Venice was a little rough.
Mhm.
I loved Sorry Baby. I loved Avatar Fire and Ash. Obviously, I can't wait to watch it again. A little known horror movie that I don't think has gotten a full release, so people should keep an eye on it for 2026. That really blew me away. So horror fans listening to this, write this down. It's called Tinsman Road. It's
Mm.
by Robbie Banfitch, who did a found footage movie a few years ago called The Outwaters. It is found footage. It is scary. It's Blair Witch adjacent, but it also is extremely dramatically compelling and sad. It really rocked me. I was actually shaking at the end of it, which is an uncommon response for me. So definitely keep that on your radar if you like horror, if you like found footage, if you like feeling like a little sad. Definitely keep it in mind. What else? Twinless was great. Sorry Baby again. The two things that I saw at Sundance this past year that stuck with me the most. And I liked Marty Supreme too. It's not just for the bros out there.
Let's go.
Cody's part of the bro gang now.
Dream big,
Well,
baby.
hold on now.
Last question. Then we're done here. Well, it's the second to last question, I guess. Griffin, number one most anticipated film of 2026 is
The Odyssey.
Cody.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really look ahead until my year is done, so probably The Odyssey as well, just off the top of my head. Give me 2 seconds. Let me let me get you a real answer, because this
Give
is
him
very
a real
boring.
answer here in a second.
Yeah.
Griffin, tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet, Griffin, while you're
So you can find me doing interviews and like my annual review over at AwardsWatch and other stuff. But then if you want to check out more regular stuff from me, you can head on over to the Film Speak channel. Video essays, deep dives into just like stuff I love over there, podcasts, whatnot. Just head on over there. And if you want to see my shit takes on a daily basis, you can go to Twitter at Griff Schiller or Threads or Instagram.
So did you get a pick?
Yeah. Disclosure Day. Spielberg. Come on.
There you go.
Aliens.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
up there too. Yeah,
That's up
looks
there
great.
too. Cody, same question. Where can we find you and all your work on the internet?
I am on every social media platform at CodyMonster91, and check out my horror movie podcast that gets released whenever my friend and I feel like recording. It's called Halloweeners, a horror movie podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. And I'm with Jay Ledbetter,
Here I am.
my usual co-host for Director Watch. How you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with you. We've got a little bit of a rapport at this point. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Jay, it's the annual end of the year show.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do have our favorite film of the year again together, right? Like we both agree what the number one film of the year is.
Yeah, and we've talked about it for over 3 hours on a podcast.
But for the purposes of variety, you're not talking about one battle after another today. You're highlighting another one of your favorite films that is in place of you saying that is your favorite film of the year. And that, of course, is
Marty Supreme from director Josh Safdie. I figured one battle would be a pretty full house. And again, we already did 3 hours on it. And I like this movie. It is like by a nose.
Yeah.
I like one battle just ever so slightly more. I love, love, love Marty Supreme.
Well, I have to give you a little bit of credit before we start talking about the movie. Is there was a war that happened this year.
Yeah, are you talking about the Great Safdie War?
The Great Safdie War. And you firmly took a stance.
I did. I called my shot.
You said, and this was before we saw trailers, before we saw any promotional material, before, anybody called themselves the Click Commander or any of that shit, or anybody,
Of course.
knew who Mark Kerr was.
Yeah.
You said it was Josh Safdie.
I said he's the one.
He's the one. He's Neo in this scenario. He's the one he's the Joel Cohen of this Coen Brothers-esque situation, of this separation of the bros, right? Why did you feel that?
Just vibes, man.
You had a 50-50 shot. I mean,
honestly, that really was kind of my thought is when you see him in interviews, Josh just kind of had more thoughtful things to say about the movies. And Benny was always, he's an actor. He's the more affable kind of in your face guy. And then whenever Josh would speak up, it was like, wow, that's a really interesting interpretation of XYZ. And there had been rumors not just that they were splitting up, but just that Benny was abandoning filmmaking altogether and focusing exclusively on acting. And that to me signaled this idea that Josh was, the true auteur of those movies so far. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Smashing Machine is completely without merit. I didn't find it terribly successful. It's got stuff.
what stuff does it have?
We're not talking about that. We're not doing that.
What stuff does it have?
I'm going to generously say that it has stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to move and talk about Marty Supreme. And the other thing over the course of the breakup, so to speak, was you started looking at the technicians on both of the films, and it was kind of like Josh kept all of the children in the divorce. They all kind of stayed with Josh.
And Benny got some of the rickety furniture.
Yeah. And then I saw a name that is a guarantee of quality. And that is Jack Fisk, production designer extraordinaire.
I think
How he got Jack Fisk on this movie, I have no idea. But yeah, Kanji had kind of been working with them, and he stayed with Josh instead of Benny. And that to me was a signal as well. But yeah, I mean, I called it.
Well, this movie, of course, is also with the movie star of the time. I mean, it is with Timothée Chalamet. He plays Marty Mauser, who is a professional tennis player in the 1950s when the sport really is just getting off. And the movie tracks him trying to get to the World Championships in Tokyo and sort of the various avenues he needs to explore, right, Jay, in order to get a ticket to Japan for the climactic ending of the film. And of course, this is the vehicle that Chalamet is running with this year. Is Dream Big. You sort of kind of teased a little bit of this in his SAG speech, I think a lot of that SAG speech was a tease for this, like trying to go for greatness, right? Was
There's
really
a
the
lot
theme
of
of that, right?
There's a lot of Chalamet has kind of been doing Marty Supreme method meta performance for like a year.
Yeah, for like a year and a half, and now he's well, we'll talk about Timothy Chalamet, I assume, here in a minute about the persona post the time that this film is going to come out and when this recording is going to come out. But nonetheless, celebrated film, had a sneak preview at the New York Film Festival, has screened a ton, generating buzz across the board, and it's also Chalamet's big test to see if he can take this little indie movie that, even though it's an indie movie, it's a $70 million film for A24, and see if he can make it a hit, proving that he is the movie star of the era. But before we even talk about any of that stuff, we got to talk about the film. Jay, what did you think of Marty Supreme, a movie that you have now stated on the record was in a razor thin race by a nose with One Battle After Another, a movie you called a masterpiece on our One Battle After Another episode. So why is it the film you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. When do you call a movie a masterpiece? If I rate it 5 stars on Letterboxd, does that automatically mean it's a masterpiece?
I think you call it a masterpiece when you just call it that.
All right, I think this is a masterpiece.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
I think this is. I think this movie is absolutely phenomenal. I think Josh Safdie's handle of the form is up there with absolutely anybody right now. The confidence on display, the tonal control is just the way that he is able to capture anxiety and momentum in his films is kind of unbelievable. And he does it here with incredibly bold choices, like out of period needle drops. This is a 1950s movie with 1980s needle drops, and it is a movie about an inherently uncool thing, table tennis, in sort of an era that we now view as inherently uncool in the 1950s. And it's such a cool movie. It's unbelievable. It is a thrill a minute, 2.5 hour epic about a table tennis player. And as stupid as that may sound, it is achieved, and it is achieved by a master team of technicians, and probably my favorite male performance of the year from Timothy Chalamet, a guy who I used to just reject. Like I was just like, this guy, I do not understand it. What is going on with Timothy Chalamet? And now I think he has incredible taste and incredible passion and a nose for cinema that will matter in the year 2025 in the larger pop culture. He's unbelievable in this. I think Josh Safdie is such a savvy caster. I mean, you have Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary, one of our preeminent conservative hucksters in the year 2025, just knocking his role out of the park. I hope that he wasn't invited to Thanksgiving dinner with Josh or anything, but he certainly got the most out of Safdie in this. I mean, Tyler, the Creator, I think is great. He's just a really fascinating pop culture figure. I think Gwyneth Paltrow does some really interesting stuff with her off-screen persona in this film. Abel Ferrara is a cast member in this movie. I mean, it's
And
just
Gillette's terrifying in this movie.
It really is just an absolute. George Gervin is in this.
I was going to say my Spurs legend George Gervin is in this movie, and that made me sit up in my seat with a big grin on my face, being like, "Oh, so this movie's for the Spurs fans out there." All right, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then the real kind of surprise was Odessa A'zion as the true kind of second lead of the movie, as Marty's on again, off again girlfriend, I suppose, who has an incredible power to her as well. And they're all so locked in on the same wavelength. It feels like everybody is rowing in the same direction on this film as much as any other movie that came out this year. It's thrilling. It's enthralling. It is a movie about table tennis that makes you like grab the edge of your seat until your hands turn blue. It is just a masterclass of tonal manipulation and technical proficiency. It's playing with the form in ways that not many people are willing to do these days. And it's an expensive movie, and you see every dollar on screen. It's just what going to the movies is about.
I really like this movie a lot. It's in my top 20. It's not in my top 10, but it is a movie that I really, really love. I do think, though, its DNA continues the thread from Good Time, Uncut Gems,
100%.
the technical form, the style, the sense of urgency and the pace, the score, just the cinema in motion.
They do
really,
the exact opening credits trick in this that they do in Uncut Gems.
yes, they do,
And they both rock.
They both rock. I will say some of the tricks are not as fresh
You think
as
a
they
little
are.
derivative?
A little bit. I do think that there's also a little bit of runtime where it does feel that certain little segments of the film don't matter as much as others do, and I kind of wish some other aspects were explored more. Like you highlighted Kevin O'Leary here, who I think is fantastic in this movie. And I never thought I would say that in a million years about that psychopath. But I wish there was actually more of him, and more, a little bit more for Gwyneth, and a little bit more with the sort of background of the place that George Gervin owns, that Tyler the Creator and him were there. And I wish there was a little bit more of that rather than this dog component that I think is there with Abel Ferrara that is really just there to, I mean, it really doesn't add up to too much in the end of it when you really think about it, Jay. But that being said, Chalamet is so goddamn good in this movie
He's so good.
that, and it frustrates me because like everything off screen that's going on with this movie, I just like shake my head and roll my eyes because I'm like, it's so annoying and it's so out there and it's so, it's so much of what this character is. But we know Timothée Chalamet to mostly not be this all the way kind of character. But I think he's kind of leaned into it. He's got like this, he did like a WWE podcast and he was kind of playing,
Is making the rounds, man.
Turning heel a little bit and being more of the villain. And I was kind of like, all right, whatever. He's got to do the most he can right now to get this movie money more than he does with like Bob Dylan or Wonka or even Dune, right? Because
this is a really important movie for him.
This is probably the most important film he's had yet in his filmography in terms of being a bona fide solo top of the bill movie star, right?
Because it is this movie is him.
This movie
from a
is
commercial
him.
perspective, this movie is him.
Its movie is him from a commercial standpoint, and it also contextually it does feel like him. It does feel like this chip on his shoulder, annoying kid from New York
In your 20s,
who's in his no, not just trying, succeeding, being told he is great, accepting he's great, talking to the press in this movie, saying some of the most absurd, vile shit that can come out of your mouth, and trying to back it up then later on the table tennis court. And what I find so interesting is all the metacontextuality with it, and yet Chalamet also does enough to separate this character from him, because Marty Mauser is an absolute asshole. I mean, he sucks. He is a fucking shithead. I mean, he's terrible. The things he does, and he's a grifter. He's going from grift to grift to grift to grift.
But he has a magnetism.
But he has a talent and he has a magnetism to him that Chalamet is able to pull off. He's 1 minute supremely terrified, and the next minute he's the suavest guy in the room. This is a showcase for Timothée Chalamet to be the movie star that we need right now. There's no denying that. And so you take away all the stuff on the outside and you just focus on the performance. It's so propulsive and it's so audacious and it's so lived in and it's so him. And then you throw in Safdie, who is proving all of us that he is the chosen one from that family. He's got the goods. Really, I start to think it's him and Ronald Bronstein, whose wife Mary
I still like
Bronstein.
Benny, but
No, but I like Benny too. I mean, Benny's doing fine. He's working with PTA and Nolan. He's
Nolan,
doing
yeah.
okay, and him and Nathan Fielder, they're doing a lot of interesting, wild, crazy stuff too with like The Curse. But I think Ronald Bronstein is really the unsung hero that doesn't get enough credit between all the collaborations. And him and Safdie wrote this with Chalamet in mind. I mean, the Bronsteins have just had Bronsteins, I'm sorry, have had just a wonderful year between this and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. But this movie, to me, Jay, is the ultimate film for Chalamet because this is about transitioning from the brash, obnoxious, terrible 20s and realizing by the end of this movie that the ghost that is the age of 30 is coming and knocking at his door. And I think the character, Chalamet, the film, is chasing the idea of growing up and conforming to what is normal. And instead, the whole big dream big thing is dream big and chase after it because you're trying to avoid the normalcy that is surrounding him. Look at his family. Look at all the people that are in his life. Everybody is settled. They settled. They stopped chasing dreams. They stopped going after what they want. And they're looking paycheck to paycheck. They're driving cabs, or they're relying on, owning a shoe store, or they married into a relationship so that they could be comfortable. And here's this kid with a genuine talent and a belief that he can get it done, and saying, no. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to defy those odds, even though he's made mistakes. And then there's just those needle drops, and that final needle drop at the end of the film that's like, yeah, buddy, you got all that talent and everything, and you may be good at this, but that train's never late. 30's always going to come around the corner. And so I do think it is a movie inherently about its artist and the character finding a way to realize that he has no choice but to grow up. I think it's kind of a fascinating film when it comes to that. It does have some low points for me. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. But
when it ends, you're like, oh, bummer.
But yeah, but there's no denying that I was at the edge of my seat the entire time. The score is so propulsive. The needle drops are incredible.
Rules.
Kanji's cinematography is insane.
Those big old anamorphic lenses, man. Makes it
so
feel
good.
like a freaking
And yeah, you're right.
70s movie.
I'll take it even a step further when you said that $70 million is this budget. It feels like it's even bigger. And that's because of the energy that it's, it's just shining through. Yeah, dude, this movie's good. This movie's good. Movies are good.
Yeah, this movie's great, obviously, I think. But it is... It really does feel like a throwback of a movie. It feels... Obviously, Josh Safdie is obsessed with, the films of New Hollywood, the 1970s movies, and he's trying to capture that while also bringing in, these modern sensibilities. I mean, like Timothée Chalamet is so far the defining Gen Z movie star, and I think he can't help but kind of bring in that sensibility to the film. And again, the era defying needle drops and things of that nature really just throw you off. That's what I love about a great Safdie's movie, is it always surprises you. And this movie is very surprising. And again, like I said, maybe the most surprising thing is I think Timothée Chalamet is absolutely unbelievable in this movie. But
that shouldn't be surprising anymore, right?
I think you're right. I think I'm just all in. I think I'm all in. And again, the Jack Fisk of it all, it's just like, how authentic does this movie feel? And it's never boring. There's not a scene in this movie where you're like, oh, well, that's kind of an uninteresting setting. Never. Not a scene.
I do think the stuff with the dog and the Pendulette house, it doesn't need to be there.
Well,
I know that you think I'm like, that's probably the only part that doesn't need to be there.
That's interesting that you say that. I mean, I don't I don't know what needs to be there is. For me, I'm just like, I love this movie and I go along for the ride with those sequences.
No, I
right?
know. But
I'm
like by
not,
the time I get to the end of that
I'm so
sequence,
drawn into this movie that in my mind it's just like, what do you mean it doesn't need it? It's part of the movie. Like
yeah, no, I know.
it just is. And that's the sign of a great movie when I'm just like, I mean, it's just in the movie. So what do you mean? Nothing needs to be in a movie. It just is in a movie that I
No,
love.
I just think that by the end of that
No, but that
storyline,
yeah,
at
that's
seconds,
the difference between like a
Yeah.
movie that you unabashedly adore and
Uh-huh.
something that you can pick apart. And
Yeah.
that I don't feel that way. That's actually a testament to how much I love this movie is that I can't even be like it's very hard for me to nitpick because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I love everything about it and that's in it. What are you talking about?
No,
Like that's the movie.
no, I mean like when I watch Uncut Gems, for example, which I do think is a better film than this.
It might be, but it's a
Um,
masterpiece as well, baby.
yeah, it's really good.
You can have multiple masterpieces.
I'm sure, and I haven't seen the film in a long time, but I didn't feel in the moment that there was things that could take out because it was so everything was so integral to the plot and to the overall final destination where Howard was at the end of that film, right? To get to
It's
that
definitely a
bet.
leaner movie, and it definitely has a more kind of definitive
But I
beginning and
think,
end.
but I
sort of.
think maybe if I could give it one credit for having this overstuffedness, is that in a 20-year-old's life, those things would be a little bit more convoluted potentially because a hat on a hat on a hat. You're trying to find as many solutions and throw so many things at the wall in order to stick because you're so desperate. He's more desperate in this than mostly any character. There's a lot of characters this year. He's one of the most desperate characters I think I've ever seen of this decade. And
Yeah, he's kind of pathetic. I mean, that's
He's-
Safdie's,
yeah.
it's Safdie's thing,
that's
right?
their calling card. And yet there's something about, there's something about watching him and he's such a prick and yet you can't keep your eyes off of him. And it's a little bit of that attraction that why Gwyneth Paltrow keeps going back to him and keep being interested in being around him. It's just like she'll have sex with him or she'll have lunch with him or whatever. And and she's around him and his vibe and his aura to get him there. But then it's the afterwards. It's when he talks and actually has to say something and his cockiness opens up. It's like, God, you just become absolute poison around everything and can just really ruin a room. But that's what being 20 is like. You think that you're unbeatable. You think you're invincible. You think that you can beat everyone and in the world sets you like the world is your oyster. And you can, I think by your 30s, you have to realize, and you have this probably too, Jay, in your 20s, you feel undefeated. By the time you get to your 30s, you have to renegotiate with yourself. And he has this renegotiation moment as the credits are going. And I've actually found that to be so fascinating. Because it's like, he knows what he can do by the end of this movie. And yet it doesn't even matter anymore, probably, does it?
No, I mean, we always talk about midlife crisis. That's been a thing that has been talked about in movies and just life in general forever. But
Oh, yeah.
there are other crises in your life as well. I mean, I remember, there's plenty of post-grad movies, right, where you're trying to figure out what you're doing with your life in the first place.
I mean, my God, we talked about The Graduate this past year on Director Watch.
Yeah. But there is also this kind of less talked about period of your life where it's like, okay, I'm at a tipping point right now. I need to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of my life or just accept that I'm going to do something that I'm very ambitious about, but just will not be fruitful for me. And the most extreme example of that is a sport where it is not just, I can work harder than everybody else and that will get me the credit I deserve. Some people are just better at table tennis than other people, and you'll never be as good as that person. And that is sort of the hurdle that Marty runs into in this movie, in addition to the fact that there's just not a ton of money in it. There just isn't.
At that time, probably still not even today.
He's not hustling to make $100,000 to buy a huge mansion. He's hustling just so that he can pay to get to his next tournament.
Yeah.
The stakes of this movie are so small, but it feels like you're watching Ambulance, right? Like, I mean, it's so intense. And
But they
that's
feel
an
so
achievement
grand,
from Safdie,
right?
This movie feels massive.
Like to you and
Feels
me, it's
massive.
like, oh, you didn't go to your little table tennis tournament. That's what most of the little freaking characters say to him in the movie. To him, that's everything. That's his chance to get out of this.
Oh, I mean, the representation of that is unbelievable. It is, to him, this is as important as,
Life or death.
slaying a dragon.
Yeah.
Right. That's what this is to him.
Well, and he's given
And-
the opportunity to just be the manager of the store,
Yeah.
take care of your family that way, start
Like,
a
hey,
life.
you want just like a steady life.
He'd probably make decent money,
You'd make decent money, live in a decent apartment, and have a family.
but you'd live.
No.
But would you live with the idea of that I have greatness
And
inside of me?
that's the tipping point. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why he runs.
And
that's why he
very
evades.
few people have greatness in them in that way. And it kind of reminds me of when an actor or somebody who, like Kevin Hart or somebody, will be like,
Wow.
let me just say, I'm not calling out Kevin Hart specifically. Let me just say somebody, Kevin Hart or Jack Black or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just
Okay.
name three random people.
Okay.
When they say something along the lines of, look, if you're out there and you try hard enough and you hustle hard enough, you can make it too. And it's like, that's not true.
No.
It's survivor bias, right?
Yeah.
And they're saying that, and I understand that that's coming from a very good place, but it's just not a
It's
true, like, that's not the solution to the equation.
Yeah.
And that's something that Chalamet believes in himself so intensely that he can do that, but there is definitely an amount of delusion to it, in addition to the fact that, again, he's not, trying to start a $500 million business or something. He wants to be really good at a game that I played in my basement.
No, he's trying to cheat the American dream and rewrite it.
Yeah.
Because the American dream, I don't even know in modern context it exists anymore. Back then, you probably you had a better shot than you do now. I mean, my God sakes, he's kind of handed it to him generationally from his family. I'm handing you this job. You can take care of your mom. You can pay the bills and stop chasing this foolish idea.
And then he's handed a life preserver basically by Mr. Wonderful.
Exactly. He's handed all of this.
He has to kind of be a clown. But,
Yeah.
You
have to, but at a certain point also, it's like, how much do I just want to mooch off of somebody and not pay my own path and find my own way? How much do I want to be a cog in the machine and be a joke? Like
it is largely about him denying humility, just rejecting it.
It's that, and I think it's also just about denying I think that those obstacles and those adults do represent conformity, and they represent the typical way to get to the American dream. And yes, and some people want to forge their own way, and it's harder that way. It's a hard road to get there. Like, I was listening to the Big Picture talk about this, and it's like, and they were just talking about his Oscar chances and the way Chalamet does press tours and the way he's doing all this marketing. He's doing it in a different way.
He's one of one, man.
He's one of one right now. No one else is doing it like him. Whether that's good or bad is up for
straight
debate.
up experiment at this point.
It is.
He's trying something that no one has ever really done before.
And you know what? If it works out for him, it's mostly will be just at a box office level, because it'll take a while for people to appreciate it on a broad spectrum, probably. And maybe he does win the Oscar.
You don't think the Academy watches Drewski videos?
I think that some of the things older members of the Academy are allergic to, but that's also what the older members of the cast that are playing these characters in these movies are allergic to. They're allergic to Marty's antics and his brashness and his immaturity. And yet there's a method to the madness inside of his head. And that method is win at all costs. Don't think of anything bad. Ultimately, we're going to get to the finish line, which is be the best in the world and hold that trophy. And he doesn't get to do that by the end of this film. But there is if this movie continues, he probably has enough drive to keep going. But things in life change that perspective for him, I think, by the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that conformity catches up to him in a way.
No doubt.
I think that's kind of fascinating. Is that you tried to do it your own way, and I think down the road, Timothée Chalamet, he wants to win an Oscar. It ain't gonna be, dressing as a ping pong ball and doing all the crazy videos. It's gonna be shaking hands and kissing babies and going on actors and doing round tables and on the mundane stuff. Because that's ultimately what he tells himself and what Safdie tells him to at the end of this movie. It's like, well, you can deny it all you want, buddy, but you're welcome to the world now.
To a certain extent, Safdie movies are about the idea that hustling has its limits. And,
yes, it does.
We will see if that proves true of grindset mindset Chalamet's award chances.
Can I ask you something about Josh Safdie in particular?
Yeah.
Do you think though he might be a one trick pony?
Do you think we've? Look,
do you think this style and this storytelling has run its course with this trilogy? I think it's really a trilogy. Good Time, Uncut Gems, this film. Do you think he's just really fascinated with the idea of making movies that are this propulsive with these flawed individual great actors in the center of the focus of the frame?
I mean, we won't know that until he tries something. We won't know that until he tries to adapt Pride and Prejudice, right? I don't know.
Or does the next Avengers movie? Right.
All that I can
You'd
speak
watch
to
that
right
though.
now.
You'd watch.
I mean, I watch all that garbage. But we won't know until he tries it, and I hope he tries something different because I do think. I mean, I think this has different stuff going on than Uncut Gems and Good Time, and his other films too.
Okay.
Certainly, just in the fact that this, I think, it's a much more traditional, accessible film than Uncut Gems.
I'll agree with you on that. Yes, and it feels younger, not just because of Chalamet. It feels like, even though it is the bones of those other two films, it does feel fresh. Like
it does entirely.
It feels like this is my movie now. This is my experience. This is me working just with Timmy for years to create this.
I think what you're speaking to when you say that he's kind of using the same tricks, playing the same hand a little bit, is how these movies make you feel.
Yeah.
Because when there's the overlapping dialogue and we're doing some walk and talks and everything like that, it is just like, oh, I remember how I felt watching Uncut Gems. This is very much like when they couldn't open the door in Uncut Gems, right? And he's the best at that right now. He's unbelievable at it. But it is addressing different ideas, certainly different stages of life.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, definitely still
it's more of the style
it's
of
about
his
it's about
filmmaking.
hustling and the style is there, but I can't guarantee that his Pride and Prejudice will be good or that his Ready Player 2 will win any Oscars, but all that I can say is that he's done everything that he's tried so far very well. And so in that regard, I would be like, he'll probably be good if he tries something slightly different too.
Hey, there are some people that have an aesthetic and they stay with it. I mean, look at Wes Anderson, for Christ's sake. Like I love
definitely
Wes's movie.
those films definitely have very different ideas in the same way
They do, but they have when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie.
You know his little doll houses.
And I think from this moment on, you'll know when you're watching a Josh Safdie movie. And I think that's key, is that he found, with Chalamet, he found out that, like, I'm the one that can move this all the way through. And yeah, I mean, the production design of this movie was giving me the callbacks to when Fisk, like it was giving me callbacks to The Color of Money and a lot of great sports films. And then the cinematography is insane. Kanji's had a great year, and
Kanji's one of the best.
he's one of the best. And I just think, yeah, I mean, Odessa's, what's her last name? Odessa Azion.
Yeah, Zion, I believe it's how you pronounce it.
She's incredible in this film. Paltrow is very good. Tyler, the creator, I wish there was more of him. Him and Chalamet were so good together in this movie.
He's
The
just
hustle
a really good
is really good.
presence.
Yeah, it's a great year for
He's effortlessly good.
music artists or first time acting or not. He's not a first time actor, but this is like a big role for him.
Yeah.
It's really, really good stuff. I highly recommend it. And I mean, yeah, the score
out
is,
of this world good.
it's top 3. Yeah. I put it up there in the top 3 this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One Battle, this, and Sinners. Sinners score is really good.
I don't think it's the greatest year for score of all time.
Yeah.
I really like the Jay Kelly score, actually.
Oh, the Nicholas Bertel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's really
Big
good.
Big Bertel fan.
Oh, big time. We love Nicholas
Mhm.
Bertel on this show.
Yep. So,
Jay,
I mean, yep.
any final thoughts you have on Marty Supreme?
Yeah, I'll just say generally, Ryan, I'm like a form aesthetic guy first.
I
and
thought you
foremost.
almost said you were a forest guy, and
I'm a force guy. I
Oh,
brought my
force.
lightsaber.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump guy.
Table tennis.
There you go. Bingo.
But I'm a form and aesthetic guy kind of first and foremost. So if you can impress me with that, you've got me absolutely hooked to begin with. But then when you add everything else that I think is great about this movie, it makes it number 2 by a nose of the year for me, next to a movie that I think might be the movie of the decade so far, which would make this maybe the number 2 movie of the decade so far. Maybe number 3 or 4.
I was gonna say there's like a lot of films of the decade that you love.
I think it's top 5, but it might be like 5. But there's been some really good movies.
I think if I name like 5 movies or 6 movies off, like that, you would be like, okay, maybe it's top 10. But
I'm gonna say them right now.
okay.
One Battle. Nope. Killers of the Flower Moon. Oppenheimer. Marty Supreme.
What about Nickel Boys?
I'll take this over Nickel Boys ever
Wow.
so slightly.
Wow.
Today. It might change tomorrow. But
What
for
about-
the sake of the premise I just put forward, I'm putting it ahead.
What about Fablemans?
I'll put this over Fablemans ever so slightly.
Tar?
I'll take this over Tar.
Matrix Resurrection?
I'll take this over Matrix Resurrections.
Oh,
I mean, either way, whether
I
it's
know. I'm just messing with you. I'm
5
just
or
messing with
8.
you.
I mean, it's an amazing film.
No, for sure. Jay, can you tell the listeners out there some of the other favorite films? I know you mentioned Marty here as your one and One Battle After Another, but what are some of your other favorite films of 2025? And after that, I want you to tell everybody your number 1 most anticipated film of 2026. So give them some of your favorites of the year and then your most anticipated for next year.
Yeah, I'll say some of my other favorites. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I loved as a dad. That one hit me really hard, and definitely watched that one with my wife as well. I've watched it multiple times. Watched it with my wife. That felt like an actual bonding experience. 28 years later, you talk about playing with form. Boyle, that might be my favorite Danny Boyle film, actually.
He's saying much for you because you're not a Boyle guy.
I'm not a huge Boyle guy, but I really, really liked that movie. The last 20 minutes of that with Ray Fiennes, just
impeccable stuff.
Some of the most interesting contemplations of death I've ever seen. Controversial one, Eddington, I really liked. I was shocked that I really liked it, but
I'm still shocked that you really liked it. Yeah.
Such a clever movie with some incredible performances. No Other Choice was one that hit home to the point of like almost having to get up and leave. Ephus, a great smaller film that again hit really close to home, just as a man, is this what I look like playing sports now kind of thing. Just a really cozy, but sad, melancholy, but also occasionally joyous film. I mean, some others, Black Bag Weapons, all kinds of fun stuff. Really liked Train Dreams, and then I liked a lot of the stuff that other people like too. One shout out I will give that probably no one else will give a shout out to: Final Destination Bloodlines, banger.
There you go.
Banger.
I was waiting for you to say it.
I had to throw a fun one in there. That movie is so fun.
Yeah.
That movie is awesome.
Huh. And your 2026 most anticipated film for next year?
Well,
you've been Mr. Skeptic. If anyone listens to Director Watch, they know Jay Ledbetter has been Mr. Skeptic going into 2026. But there's got to be something that you're,
as always, placeholder for the Terrence Malick Jesus movie.
Yes,
which I'm sure is coming out next year.
How much would you actually bet money in Vegas on? Would you bet money in Vegas on it actually coming out, or are you just
what are my odds?
I don't know.
7,000 to 1. I'll put $1.
10 to
no,
1
that
odds.
movie is probably not coming out yet. But my number one has got to be Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg, I think, is in his absolute bag right now. And as we are recording this, that trailer came out a day ago.
Yeah.
And I was just pumping my fist.
You're hooked.
Just giant spectacled sci-fi Spielberg. Give me all of that you got, baby.
Kind of looked back to the early 2000s era Spielberg when you and I fell in love with him. Yeah.
Yep.
In the theaters. Yeah. It's
great cast.
It was kind of weirdly giving me a little bit of like science and AI vibe to it. Like I was kind of getting that with like the forest creature things.
We can only be we can
only be so lucky if he reaches the heights of M. Night's best movie and a masterpiece like AI too. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to those. Jay, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet?
Sure. Yeah. Jay Ledbetter on Letterboxd. I have a podcast with Ryan on this very podcast feed called Director Watch.
It's my favorite thing I get to do every week.
Yep. We're covering Warren Beatty when this releases. So listen if you want to hear my hot takes on Warren Beatty.
You're going to want to listen. They're hot.
Any writing I'm doing over at the great website AwardsWatch.com.
Welcome back for the grand finale here. I'm joined by Josh Parham.
Hello, hello.
And Sophia Ciminello.
What's up, homies?
And if you all have made it through this very long, winding road of a journey that has been the end of the year episode, you're probably asking yourself, but guys, where's one battle after another? Well, you've reached your destination. And if you hear that sound, it is the trust device. It is the other melody that connects you to the one battle after another conversation. This is it. This is putting all the cards out on the table. This is Josh, Sophia, and my number one movie of the year. And to also be clear, again, this is Jay, Trace, I want to say, who else?
Cody. Yeah.
Cody's number one film of the year. They all talked about other films. That is a rounding endorsement of support. I think like Griffin, Eric, Mark, no, maybe not Mark, Dan and Karen and Tyler, they all mentioned it. I think Mark mentioned One Battle a little bit. So everybody's at least mentioned this on this show. But now we're going to talk about it. And if you haven't already heard the 3-hour episode of Director Watch this year, where we were trying to piece our thoughts together on just a handful of screenings apiece, everyone here has at least seen it more than 3 times. Josh, how many times have you seen it?
I've seen it twice.
Okay, well then I lied. We've seen it at least twice on this show.
I was watching a little bit of it beforehand because it's on HBO Max now. So
there you go. Sophia, how many times have you seen it?
I'm at 10 in the theater in different formats.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm right there with you. I have seen it once at home, but that doesn't count to the count, as Sophia has told me. It's the PTA's long, sprawling epic. And everyone's been talking about it. It's been the movie that has dominated the conversation since it's been released back in September. Sophia and I have talked about this a lot. And honestly, I'm so glad that Josh, you're here, because Josh, you and I, we haven't talked about this movie yet a lot this year between the two of us. So I'm going to start with you, Josh. Why is One Battle After Another the best film of 2025?
Well, it is a movie that from the very first moment I saw it, I really did feel like I was watching a pretty monumental achievement. And obviously, I'm a huge PTA fan. I really love all his movies to a certain degree, but it really feels like this is the one that kind of takes everything that he has been doing so well in his career and applying it to a story that is both relevant to our times, but also kind of divorced from that at the same time, because it is really about these characters going on this emotional journey. And I find that the mixture of great drama with this levity to it that makes it really entertaining. It just is like a movie that it checks every single box I would want to be thrilling and engaging and heartfelt all at the same time. And as somebody who has loved PTA for so long, it does feel like a culmination of all of his talents. And try as I might to kind of feel like, well, maybe there's another movie that I like maybe a bit more. And I don't, as a critic, you don't want to completely fall in line sometimes, but there's other moments where you just have to say to yourself, no, that feeling that movie gave me of such grand elation really is special. And I can't deny that One Battle After Another absolutely did that for me.
Sophia, last year, you and I, we sat here at the end of the episode and we talked about our favorite film of the year, and that was The Brutalist. If we would be doing this podcast in this format in 2022, we would have talked about our favorite film of the year being Tar. You were very high on Oppenheimer, though we talked about, I believe we talked about May, December.
Yeah.
Are you still strong? Would you still say May, December, or would you say, I think you would say The Zone of Interest, to be honest with you.
Or Killers of the Flower Moon, honestly. Yeah. That's such a good movie year. It's anytime you remove yourself from it a few years later, you're like, what was it? I still think May, December is my favorite, but
the best.
Yeah. Best I might go Zone, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it's Zone of Interest for you. Just my observation, it kind of feels like it would be Zone of Interest.
Yeah. It's, I think so too.
The Glazer, of course.
But of course, we talked a lot about Oppenheimer that year and how much we love that. So Sophia and I do align sometimes, not all the time, folks, but for the majority of the time. But one thing we do align on is this man called Paul Thomas Anderson. And so this was no surprise at all. Sophia was on the Director Watch episode earlier this year, and where we talked glowingly about this. And Sophia and I have seen this movie 4 times together this year.
Oh my gosh, we have.
I think it's 3 or 4 times. Maybe it's just 3. Well, is it? I think it's just 3.
I think it's 3.
I think it's 3.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be 4 probably by the end of this season. But why is it still the number 1 film of the year?
Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson is my favorite working director. He has been for a long time. And I think anytime you bring that kind of personal connection to an artist into one of their new films, you have really high expectations. And coming into this one, I have to say, I thought before I had heard really anything about it, just from people who had seen it or anything, that, I'll probably love it, but it might not be my favorite thing he's ever made because I do tend to prefer his films that focus on just a few characters, like Phantom Thread, There Will Be Blood, those kind of tight character studies, less so than the sprawling ensembles, even though I love those too. And I saw this in early September on the Warner Brothers lot, and there was just this feeling in the air. I just thought, oh, I'm going to see something that's going to just completely rock my world in every way. But when I was sitting in that theater, as it started, and you hear Johnny Greenwood's score, and it's different than anything you've really heard from him. You see Tiana Taylor up above surveying that detention center, and you see Leo's Bob Ferguson just, well, before he's Bob, but you know what I mean. You see him, and they're really just Ghetto Pat, Rocket Man. PTA's playing with these characters and these actors in really unique ways. I was just automatically really excited. And then there's just something also about seeing your favorite director have more money than ever before and just really get to do exciting, brand new things. He rarely works in a contemporary period too. So even that, he's doing really unique things, I think, with the time period. But ultimately, I think what really sticks with me about this is that you think about examples of filmmakers throughout history and when it is the right time for them to tell a specific story or to make a certain film. And if PTA tried to make this in the 90s, I don't think it works in the way it does now. This just feels like the culmination of what he's been working to his entire career, which is really exciting. And I think everything just came together in the perfect way at the right time. You have these exciting, different performances. You have some of the greatest things he's ever done visually as a filmmaker. And he's, like you said, Josh, like he's, yes, tackling issues that feel so, I think, current and relevant to our political landscape now, but he also never really gives up on the heart at the center of this, which is this father-daughter story. It's a mother-daughter story. It's a story about these revolutionaries. And there's just something about that time jump when you see baby Charlene chewing on that tracking device in the car, that cut to teenage Willa, to Chase Infinity, this discovery, it makes me cry. It makes me feel the same way that I felt watching Lawrence of Arabia for the first time. When you see that match cut, you're just like, oh my God, like I'm experiencing something it's a rare feeling to have that when you're watching a film. So yeah, I think ultimately at the end too, it's what does it say that at the end of this film, after everything that Willa has gone through, she says yes to joining the revolution. That's such a perfect note to end on.
So I was told by many people before I even saw this movie that had already seen it, including Sophia Ciminello here, that this would be my favorite film of the year. And if it wasn't my favorite film of the year, I'd be absolutely shocked. Josh, I think you saw it before. I
absolutely said the same thing to you. I said I will be shocked if this is not your number one of the year.
And so I the first viewing I saw this in was the glorious VistaVision in wonderful New York City. And I was right next to our good friend and colleague, Dan Bayer. And Dan and I went separate ways, and I was on the subway heading to see Sophia and Eric in Central Park. And I just remember sitting in a chair on the subway and just going like, what the fuck did I just see? And it was one of those moments that, in Ratatouille, when the film critic, Anton Ego sits there, and he eats the ratatouille and it transports him back to his childhood when his mom made the same dish, and it just like opened up his heart, right? So I was on that train and I was sitting there and I was waiting to go see these two in the park. I flashed back to that moment years ago when my mom pulled me out of class at school to take me to go see the new film from Paul Thomas Anderson. And it was There'll Be Blood. And at that moment, I kind of sat there and I realized, like, okay, this is like the movie that's just going to be my identity and change everything for me. And I didn't think I'd ever get that feeling again from my favorite director on the planet. I've certainly loved Phantom Thread, and that movie is very personal to me because of anyone that's been in a long-term relationship for more than a decade. That movie is like very, very much your calling card. I mean, like the breakfast scene alone is with the buttering of toast is something that happens a lot in this house. Like you let a horse through the front door. Anyway, I just thought he's got something else in him that will be the defining film, not just of his career again, but like of our time, like Josh kind of said. And when I saw Eric and Sophia, I had like that Breakfast Club moment at the end of that movie where like I put my fist in the air because I was so, and kind of almost like how Bob is with his fist in the air, like holy fucking shit, he did it. It went from like this euphoric feeling to like this absolute elation of fuck yes. Like it's like just all through you because only he could do this. Only he could incorporate all the themes that you're talking about, Josh, politically, socially, and wrap it in a story that is so character-based and character-driven through an action set piece vehicle of this size and scope, and it be his most personal film to date. That's what this movie is. It's his most personal film because this is talking about themes and situations and feelings and complex, complicated internal emotional feelings about himself in the world, his generation, the fact that his generation seemed to be a counter against the culture and how they were always fighting in the 80s and the 90s to say something and do something that would make shockwaves, right? You know, I always think of PTA walking out of that Boogie Nights screening or whatever with that cigarette in his mouth, being a cocky little shit. I always think of him like that because that's who he was. And as he's gotten older and as he's had kids and as he's had a wife and everything, he's become the person that's more reflective and more and definitely about in this film saying that we had our shot, we blew it. Look at the world that we've created. We've created a massively divisive world. We made it where there are villains around every turn. And yet, instead of being super cynical about it, like most filmmakers of his generation have become, he still has hope within the people. The people that are struggling will rise up because they don't waver. You see that within Deandra. You see that within Sensei and that whole storyline. And God damn it, you see it through Willa. This girl who she doesn't really know by the end of this film who her real father is, or does she? She doesn't have her mother. And yet, to your point, Sophia, she accepts the mission to carry on the revolution and be the next in a line of revolutionaries, regardless of everything that's happened to her. And I think back to the one of the great lines. There's, I don't know, 6 great lines in this movie. But the line that makes Leo's performance so great and feels so personal is the line in the car with Sensei, and where he's talking about that I didn't think this asshole would be walking in the door again, talking about Lockjaw. I thought it would be her mom. And I thought she would be able to have a mom. And I thought that they would be able to have a connection and they'd be able to talk to each other in ways I can't talk to her, and be able to do her hair because I can't do her hair. And that's conversations with his father-in-law about Maya Rudolph and their family and him not being able to do that. That's maybe a feeling that PT has had about his daughters and in their relationships as a father. I mean, his daughters are pretty much a little bit older than Willow or right around Willow's age in this movie. And it all adds up to just like this beautiful just message from the director of at least my lifetime, as through all the darkness, there is this hope. It's just a perfect movie because it's also ridiculously stupid and ridiculously hilarious, but incredibly moving. I mean, Sophia talked about the edit, the letter at the end of this movie. I don't know how you don't fucking just ball up every time you hear Perfidious words being read through the lens of Willa and what Willa does at the end of that and hugging Bob. But not really hugging Bob, hugging her father. And just the final needle drop of it being American Girl and a callback to Demi. And there's all these callbacks. And this man is this man is collecting every tool that he's collected for 10 films, and he's delivering it on such a level that I don't know how they gave him $130 million to do it and why they would do it, but they did. And if you have seen this on the IMAX, you know that it's got like some of like the great set pieces and maybe even nauseating set pieces you're ever going to see. Like the River of Hills is like, what the fuck? Like I've never experienced that before. Sophia was with me at the IMAX at Lincoln Square or Lincoln Center. And I was leaning forward in my chair at times because I was going along with the car. That's a long way of saying this movie's perfect. And please somebody else talk, because otherwise I'll go on for 45 more minutes straight and won't be able to stop.
Yeah, and the thing that I think what I really took away from it, especially the first time I saw it, is how, you're right, Ryan, how personal it feels. I do find that the father-daughter relationship that is explored here is very moving, but you can see a reflection of that within his own life. I don't think Anderson would ever like explicitly talk about it, but it's hard to not watch this movie and think that this is from somebody who looks at his children and sees that they have been born into a world that is immediately hostile to them for nothing that they did. It is just the world around them has a target on their backs and is constantly antagonizing them, even though they have done nothing except be born within it. And your role as a father to both protect your child, but also prepare them for that world so that they can go out and fight their own battles, especially after ones that you feel like you have maybe not done yourself that much to prevent, is a really fascinating introspection that you can have as a filmmaker. And I love Anderson, but I don't really ever feel like I have gotten that side of him before. You know, you can maybe glean that from, Phantom Thread, obviously, there's stuff in there too, but this feels like an even deeper exploration. And I think mixing that with the political commentary and with the, even broad comedy here is just another element that really makes you appreciate the storytelling overall. And it's another thing that really endears me to the film.
I think so too. And one of the things that I love about the father-daughter relationship and how it's explored here is just how much Bob and Willa don't know about each other at first and how that shifts by the end. Because when you think about when she's a baby and Ghetto Pat first gets those names and says we're supposed to be dead folks, notice it's a mother and son that are those names. And that thread of who is the actual parent in that relationship is really important, I think, to the beginning of their relationship. Because when she's talking to him and she's like, "Where were you? You got home at 3:00 in the morning." It's such a funny exchange between the two of them.
I know how to drink and drive, sweetheart.
I know how to drink and drive is great. This isn't even warm, sweetheart. That's so good with the coffee. I love that too. But they don't know each other. She has no really understanding of what he did as part of the French 75. She's like, I'm not taking that tracker. I don't need that.
Put it in your garter.
Put it in your garter. That's so good. But it's that same thing of when you're a teenager, you don't really think of your parents as ever being young. You don't think of your parents as ever having done anything cool or really like stuck their necks out for anything. You just see them as they are when at the age where you are. And for him, when he goes to that parent-teacher conference and he hears the teacher, I mean, yes, he's high, but she's like, she's a confident leader. She's naming all of these great qualities about Willa. And he is just so moved. He's like tearing up at, oh, this is this girl, this wonderful girl that I have. Just tears of joy. That's all. But I think then too, when she's yelling at him and, she's just like, fuck off, Bob. He's like, look, I want you to stand up for yourself. I want you to say these things. I want you to speak your mind. And I think like that's probably like on the personal note, how Anderson feels about raising teenage daughters in today's world of, wanting to protect them, but also knowing that at some point they're out there on their own and you want them to have, right, those abilities to do that themselves. And then this whole time you think about how he's going after her, he's trying to find her, he's doing his best, but he's just, bumbling along because he's a drug and alcohol lover. And that has, one of my favorite lines, hurt his brain so much over the years. And then, by the end of it too, after she has this deeper understanding of who her mom was, who her father is, how Lockjaw fits into all of this, at the end of it for her, that's the first time we hear her call him dad. And I think that's just such a moving moment at the end. It's also that shot of them hugging reminds me so much of Punch Drunk Love too. I think it's a bit of a callback to that visually, but just how their relationship evolves and changes. And when he says to her, when he pulls up and we hear Leo's voice break as he says, "It's your dad, Willa," that is just like, that makes me cry every single time because for like as a daughter of a father who is a girl dad, like this is exactly like if I were in a situation like this, I know that my dad would want to save me and help me, but he also, and this is in a conversation we had about the movie too, and then I'll stop rambling, but in talking about the movie, because it made my dad very emotional too, he was just like, yeah, like I know that you would do a better job fighting for yourself than I ever could. Like Bob is the one who pulls up at the end and he's just there to be your dad. She's already saved herself. He's just there to be your dad. And I think that is so warm and beautiful.
Well, I think
the other thing about, I just want to say the other thing about that moment too, that I do love that it's not that he does anything actively to save her. She is very capable and saves herself. Yeah. He shows up there to just be supportive, to just be the dad. And I love that, he mentions, he says, "I'm your dad." And he does the line of who will not be so goddamn relevant. And even though, yes, it's part of the code, it absolutely fits into the larger framework of, the point kind of a parenting is to eventually become irrelevant, is in a certain way, is to not be necessarily that particular like protecting force, but it's there to be for support. And it's that moment that really firmly establishes that connection between them where, yes, like Bob is not always going to need to be the protector of his child, but he will always be there to support her. And getting it in that particular moment, it feels so strong because it isn't just like, oh, I'm here to save you. It's I'm here for whatever it is that the journey is going to take you on in your life. And I'm not here to stand in the way. I'm just here to be that foundation for you to leap off of. And that is what is very, very beautiful about that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to Anderson and DiCaprio talk probably way too much about this film in Q&As and conversations over the last 3 months. And the central premise of Bob's character is that, like, what if the sixth or seventh guy in the Revolutionary, or probably even 10th guy in the Revolutionary that mattered, what if like he was the last man standing? And what if he had the child? And what if he, how would he react to this? Probably the one that's the most or the least emotionally equipped to handle all of the situation. And that's a good kind of framing device. And it's very interesting then that like we kind of juxtapose a little bit as audience members, Bob Ferguson a little bit and some of those themes from Anderson. Like, what does he see himself as in all this situation? Like, he doesn't consider himself maybe like the greatest of everything. I mean, if you're juxtaposing this, that's just like Anderson speaking a little bit about himself. His wife, Maya Rudolph, partner Maya Rudolph, does come from a line of extraordinarily talented, important women. And so there's probably been those conversations, just like Bob has in there with his mother-in-law being like, my daughter comes from a whole line of revolutionaries, and her being with you, that's hilarious. It's inappropriate that you're with her because you just don't make sense because you're a stump and she's going to run right over you because that's who she is. That's who, your who's going to take care of this child? Who's actually going to do the parenting here? You? I doubt it. I think one of the things that I've noticed in seeing this movie so many damn times is the moment when Pat does take baby Charlene and Deandra's loading her up in the car, the grandmother being like, "Are you sure you don't want her to stay with us?" There's like that moment where she's like, "You sure you want to take her?" Like, like this is your, like, it's brief, and he just doesn't listen to her, and he's like, "We got to go." And she's like, "Just be with God," and it's like a little moment of like, we could take care of her, and you can get out of there. And that's an easy out for him, but he can't because he's already in protective mode of her, and he's kind of already protecting her and has tried through what we don't see in backstory, which is tell her stories, even though some of the stories obviously about her mother have been fabricated because she did lie and she did rat them out to try to save herself and try to save the moment. But it was the crumbling of the revolution itself. And so Willa doesn't really know everything, and she discovers as much of the other side of the truth as possible, but it's up for an adult at that point, and especially someone of Willa's knowledge and her ability to take care of herself, because the first time we ever see her, she's in a dojo performing karate, so we know that she knows how to take care of herself because she had to learn how to take care of herself because her dad was drunk or he was high or whatever, or probably a little bit of both. But she has a stable sort of father figure in Sensei Carlos. I think that's there.
My favorite performance in the film,
which
I'm
is
just gonna say,
the performance that everyone has told me is their favorite performance of the film, which is Benicio del Toro in the film. But so she has stability, and yes, she has to kind of grow up real quick. So it's not surprising that by the end of it, like, yes, Bob's bumbling, stumbling, can't even find the password. He's supposed to be the guy that can, he's supposed to be Rambo. You know what I mean? It's supposed to like click, and he's supposed to like turn on warrior mode, and he can't even get past the first step, which is hilarious within itself. But then that means that he needs help, and he's not like how we see other protagonists where they just stumbled or they just push their way through. He needs help, and I think it's very fascinating that he needs the other figures within struggling institutions and struggling minorities as well to help him. Like Sensei Carlos does not have to, but in that revolution, in this modern revolution, Bob is, as a Friend 75, considered a hero. Like what they did laid the groundwork for the Harriet Tubman situation that's going on with them. And so there is all this about like, I could sit back and I could, there's that moment where Bob goes like, "I'm sorry for bringing all this to your doorstep," which is totally what a white person would try to be like, I'm the one at fault here. This is my fault. And he goes, "Shut up, man. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. Don't be selfish. It's about all of us. It's not about you." And I find that introspective to be very, very fascinating within Bob's character, and just opposing that within Willa's journey, and just opposing that within everything that is Benicio del Toro, and also judging his existence within the French 75, because he is a background character. He is spectacle, while Perfidia is the one putting a gun to Lockjaw's face, who is, I think, the revelation. There's many revelations in this film, but my God, in the first 40 minutes of this movie, Tiana Taylor is absolutely electric and dominates a screen that involves people that have won multiple Oscars, and she's just this electric performance that is this electricity that is controlled chaos until it isn't. And I just think she is fantastic as well in this movie too.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. And there is something I think about what you were saying about Sensei and that line where he's like, we've been laid siege for hundreds of years. Like you're not. This is, it's not all about you, essentially. Mm-hmm. Like that's what he's saying to him there. And I think the way that Anderson's camera goes through Sensei's home and we just observe this Harriet Tubman situation and all of that process, and it just feels like this very, frenetic, kinetic action movie, really, of sorts of, we're getting from point A to point B. You have all of these, pratfalls of the Bob character and just trying to find a place to charge your phone. Like that is a very real and relatable thing. But what you're also seeing at the same time is like there have been all of these small revolutions that are taking place at the same time, right, in the world of the film. And there's something so, I think, great about that as being a huge part of this script. And I think Benicio's performance is obviously a major part of why so many people, I think, feel really connected to the film's tone as something that I think can be really humorous, but also at the same time is getting at these, all of these topics and themes that are really important and that connect back to Pynchon's novel too. And then with Tiana, I think the Perfidia character is just endlessly fascinating to me because sometimes when I watch her, I just think like you are a revolutionary because, I mean, for many reasons, right? She comes from a line of revolutionaries, but also I think she is addicted to adrenaline, to the thrill of it. Like she is a thrill seeker. She does not want to be kept in one place. She is addicted to that part of it. And then all of her relationship with Bob and how that is juxtaposed to what's going on with Lockjaw and the way she talks about her sexual power is so, it just like, it makes me, every time I watch it, it's just that thing I fixate on about her character in the first 30 minutes or so, where when she's with Jungle Pussy and they're around that fire and she says, what's this pussy for? It's for war. Yeah. Right? Like the guns are fun. Yeah. This is a different thing.
This is the war. Yeah.
But then at the same time, when we see her after any of those encounters that she has with Lockjaw, there's a different expression on her face from any other time that we've seen her in the film that gives you a clue into how that character is feeling about what it means and what it feels like to wield her own power.
Yeah. I feel like there has been honestly some very fascinating, necessary, some disingenuous thoughts and stuff about this character. When I talked with Tiana Taylor, who is very aware of everything that everyone has said about this character, she pushed back, not on me, but on the criticisms of saying that like this woman is complex. This woman is everything you kind of said there, Sophia. She's an adrenaline junkie. She loves the attention. She wants power. She sees what Lockjaw has. She sees what being a leadership role within the French 75 is. And she's like a moth to a flame. She gets too close and she's consuming too much. And she does love Pat. We see that within the letter at the end of the film, but we see that in her inherent actions. Like her actions there with Lockjaw are to keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? You can blow up whatever you want, but meet me at the Primrose Path. Like she takes that to heart. She takes to heart that she has to do what she needs to do to keep the revolution going. And others don't need to know that. But when we see her, there is this somberness. There is this feeling as if like she's attached herself to this evil that she's fighting against. And that's why she can't, even though she gives up names. And one of the most haunting images of the year is all the police officers surrounding Perfidia as she's being wheeled into custody. and then Lockjaw kind of just hovering over her saying, I can give you the full weight of the federal government, which is one of the most like sick lines I've heard all year in terms of just it makes you feel icky about the, what our system can do and what that means, which is then the revolution ends once you give up names and you turn in on these people. And her conscience, her guilt gets to her after she turns everybody in, because she leaves that note for like, oh, this pussy doesn't pop for you. Meaning like, it's not for you. It's never been for you. It's never been about our relationship. I've lied, you have put this fantasy in your brain that I love you and I don't love you. I love him. I love those people. And I did something I inherently regret. And she runs away from all that, leaving this, this massive amount of destruction in her after she's far gone. And she's been gone for those years. And we hear her in the narration in the match cut that it's been 15 years, 16 years. Yeah. So that's her again, realizing that 16 years, nothing's changed. And yet everything that I did still holds weight, still holds collective, it holds weight in Lockjaw because of, him wanting to join his little club. It holds weight in that, her daughter and the love of her life can't be who they are. They can't live normal lives. They have to live with different names and different identity and can't be who they are either. And she can't even be anywhere near them. Like even in the letter, she says, maybe one day we can get together. It's not now that you got rid of Lockjaw, oh, she can come home. Like that's still not true because those institutions that are still trying to get at her, the Christmas Adventurers Club knows exactly who she is, and they go through a ton of red tape and through bureaucracy in order to ensure ensure that their methods of madness continue to run this country. Which I find their existence in all of this too. They don't give a shit about these little bugs. They care more about Lockjaw lying to them and keeping their little club pure, which is very funny. So, but I just think
the point too. Because
Mm-hmm.
also with the Christmas Adventurers Club, I mean, that was also another thing when I was watching the movie. I was like, okay, yeah, this just it gets it because
Mm-hmm.
you are introduced to them and it is patently ridiculous. Like,
oh yeah,
the name of it. Hail Saint Nick, like it's all very, very silly.
Can't bring Lockjaw in through the front door because they think he's basically like the dirty secret of their group in a lot of ways.
But what is important though is that they may be silly, but their intentions are still very, very serious. And you look at like our government in the United States right now, it is being run by buffoons who don't know what they're doing and are acting like clowns every single day. But everything they do is also incredibly dangerous and is actively harming people. And that dichotomy, I feel like, is really represented in the Christmas Adventurers Club, in Lockjaw. Is like, these are figures that you can mock and deride because of their foolishness, but that does not make them any less dangerous. And to kind of put that in a way that is kind of comedic and entertaining, but doesn't undercut the tension that is there whenever they do show up, I find to be incredible storytelling and was so effective to me.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. And I think that's what works so well about this script and this part of the script is that it's important, I think, to keep in mind that the group that Lockjaw is inherently a part of, the military, is very different from the Christmas Adventurers, and they function in different ways. And when we think about the status of our country and how billionaires and these rich men who are not involved in politics or law enforcement or the military wield power and influence over the government through their own relationships with people who can benefit from it. I think that's a really smart idea and understanding because when we think about the Christmas Adventurers, like when Lockjaw shows up, I mean, I love that he shows up looking like he's going to a first communion or a confirmation anytime he's meeting with anyone of importance. you get this sense, I think, especially, and I didn't see this on the first viewing right away from that meeting, but you get it the more you watch it, I think, which is like, did these people ever really want him to be a member, or do they seek out men like Lockjaw just to humiliate them because they're searching for their own kind of validation and they know they can manipulate, right? Because ultimately, like these boys' clubs and these ways that men get validation, like the ultimate way, right? It's like the fraternity, the military, becoming a cop. It's like this movie really understands that, I think. And I don't know, the way that they speak to him, the way they take him up the elevator, like you were mentioning, Ryan, like up the back, when, what they do to him at the very end of the movie, when Sandy's like, we think a man's taste defines him, doesn't it? Right? Like, we know what that
keys.
means.
Oh, I don't have your keys. I gotta go. Like,
yeah,
don't need to do the visual gag either, but that's totally for them. Like
right.
in their mind.
That tells me like he was never going to really be a member anyway.
No.
But then you see the lengths that someone like Lockjaw will go to just for a personal thing in his own life, right? Like the fact that they shut down a factory, that protests are happening in a city, that they're, storming into family businesses, all because of one small thing that one powerful person wants. Mm-hmm. That is crazy. And the way that they just listen to whatever he says without questioning it, without a second thought, they constantly are violent and just deploy this force, but it's also done in this way that is very embarrassing. Like I think about when they're up in the helicopter and they're like, all right, we're hitting the high school dance 1600 hours. And they're just in like full military gear. Or when the guy's like, I need to go kinetic as they're bursting into Sensei's perfume store.
Yeah.
It's like, that is just how white supremacy within the government operates. And like these men have never grown up. They're just playing with expensive toys and are using all of our tax money to do so.
Well, and also there's just an inherent ridiculousness that also PTA is aware of, and the idea of naming the Christmas Adventure Club. I mean, like, for God's sakes, what does Fox News every goddamn year complain about in terms of the ideas of just us being a more open-minded society? Oh, there's a war on Christmas. You know what I mean? So this is
white supremacy just this just inherently like kind of silly on its surface. Like if I told you there was a group out there that got together and they all wore like white dresses and there was a wizard who was leading them, like that would sound like the stupidest thing imaginable. And I mean, not responsible for so much death and destruction throughout our country. Like that's the thing about confronting these kinds of people is like their practices can be mocked, but their actions should be taken deadly seriously because they have very harmful consequences in the world.
But also if they're unified, they're dangerous because they just tend to be on the same page, as opposed to like when you see within the revolution in the film, like Deandra's mode of fighting the fight is very different than Perfidia's, very different than everybody's around there. And so these ideas are like,
we love Lady Champagne.
We love Lady. She's so great, but like their chaos is controlled. There's not as much of controlled chaos inside of the revolution. And that's what makes them so dangerous, even though, yes, Josh, like sitting there and saying like, all hail Saint Nick and wearing like, Lacoste and Brooks Brothers and looking like, and like wanting banana pancakes, like all of that sounds like wholesome and nice, but it's the most dangerous shit on the planet right now that has power within the United States of America. I mean, like them sitting there saying like, you'll have unlimited riches to Lockjaw and you'll have the best of friends. And we cut through all this bureaucratic red tape. It's basically like, we can do whatever the fuck we want because we're the most powerful men on the planet. We just have a cool little club name and we can get away with it. And yeah, to your point, Sophia, I don't think they ever wanted to. He's the one reaching out to them. And so they're trying to be like, okay, let's look into this pest. I mean, I think that, oh my God, what's his name? What's Tony Goldwyn's name again?
Virgil Throckmorton.
I think Throckmorton knew exactly when he asked him about, have you ever been in an interracial relationship? I think he already knew the answer to that question, but then when they had to do the double Yankee White background check, I think that they confirmed everything and then more to their suspicions already about that. I mean, and then also too how very inherently childish they are when they can't even reveal to the man that they want to hire as a hitman to kill Lockjaw. They're like, well, he's got the details anyway. He can tell you everything about it. And it's very corporate speak. It's very HR speak, and how dangerous they are to explain. Like, what do you want me to do? Well,
over to you, Bill.
Over to you. It's like, Tim, here's the situation. Here's it's just the way that they communicate is hysterical because they're also giant buffoons within themselves, but they're also powerful buffoons. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. Like, our country is built upon a man that can't not have his name on things, and a country that is so focused on, things that don't affect them. Like, what is Virgil Throckmorton's like his division is cleansing and distortion?
Yep.
Yeah. And so who's part of that cleansing would be Lockjaw. So this is right under his nose. That's why he feels the sense of betrayal. It's probably also, then too, like, Lockjaw's actions at that point become personal because he, brother Rimhorn and his chicken licking factory, and there's going to be a nugget shortage. Like, it's little stupid things like that.
I love their nuggets.
There's going to be a nugget shortage because of this
and
guy.
That is one of the things that
Tim, the high school, like, they act pure when they need to and act innocent, but they would do the same fucking thing.
They're acting also out of, like, the reason they're upset is because their business has been cut off. Like, that is the element that it's like, oh, well, no, he's gone too far. Now he's messing with our money. Like, that's the issue. And, like, even to the degree of how sincere they are in terms of wanting to invite Lockjaw in, I think still what is the common denominator is that Lockjaw is a powerful white man who can utilize his influence on other people. And no matter what in that group, that is going to be appealing. I don't think they really like Lockjaw, but they mentioned there's an opening now. And it's like, well, here is somebody that fits the definition of what we are normally looking for. And even if we don't personally like him, he still embodies everything that we represent. So we can make this alliance as long as he doesn't, father an interracial child. That's like, we have to kill you for that, and like, that to me is what is fascinating about the dynamic there is like, yes, there really isn't anything to connect them other than this one thing, but it is the most powerful thing that connects these powerful people throughout the world.
Right. And it's just like he says, he's like, sometimes we have occasionally invited members of the military. And you think about that and you're like, okay, why would someone in the military be a part? Why would they invite someone from the military and not just like their ultra white golf?
They want to start a war.
Right. It's like that ulterior motive is there. Like we were talking about that connection between the wealthy and any way that they can have influence on what's happening with policy, the government, right? Virgil has that line that he repeats that Lockjaw had said before about immigration and that being something that affects the environment. Like it's a wild thing that it's ripped from Fox News, it feels like. But at the same time, right? It feels like we were talking about, it feels very contemporary. We know it's set in the now, but he does these things where we wonder, like, he's not specifically using references from our world. Like he's not naming people or showing current events like Ari Aster does in Eddington, for example, which is a very, that looks at a very specific time with very specific references in US history. This is much different than that. And I think that's why it's so successful as a screenplay in tackling those themes.
It's because it's relatable within the familiar. But it's within its own world and set of rules. And it doesn't have to, because like that military thing you're saying there, Sophia, like okay, cool. I'm not surprised. You probably did this in the 80s. You probably have done this in the past during world wars. You probably did it during our siege into Iraq. That's what we could take, but they're not saying specifically. And by the way, Josh, there was an opening because I don't know if you heard, but Jim Kringle passed away. And there was a lot of sad deaths in 2025, but Jim Kringle really affected them the most.
He just missed the TCM remembers.
Yeah, he was going to be he's going to be on the in memoriam for sure.
Yeah.
I love the Jim Kringle joke so much because they give you the Jim Kringle joke before you know the name of the Christmas adventurers. So when you're first watching it, you haven't really been able to connect the two. But then when you really think about it or you revisit it, it's like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
There's nothing better though to me than really, I mean, like there's so many needle drops, but the most hilarious needle drop I've probably ever heard in a movie in a long time is the Hark the Angel Harold Angel Sing version, because it's Billie Holiday.
Ella Fitzgerald.
Or Ella Fitzgerald. Mm-hmm. Still,
that's an important detail.
It's an extremely important detail, because it's like, okay, because that's inherently within racism and it's also like we don't have music like the good old days. There's a little bit of that in there, but it also would be like, yeah, that would play in Alice's kitchen and she'd sing it, but she would also not stand for the person that is singing it in her community. And so it's highly hypocritical, and he understands that hypocrisy so well with these characters, and it's such an aware movie. And yes, but then it's also, Sophia, it also is within our own world, because Paul Thomas Anderson put Mo Bamba in this movie, which is like
one of my favorite things,
which is the most like, wow, he does understand. He did listen to his kids. Like that song is played at every college football game I see now on television. They're like, that's the hype song. And I'm like, don't necessarily know if that's the song that you guys should be playing here, and a bunch of white kids in the student section singing it, but sure, go right on ahead and sing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's just the king of musical references and needle drops. Like they're always good, but the Mo Bamba one at the school dance, that one's
funny. Or the shut up and dance with me. I'd be like, wait, we're still singing that one? Okay, cool. I didn't know that carried on from my generation, but it was a bop back then.
Walk the Moon, yeah.
I feel like there's a bunch of things we can talk about here, but Josh.
Oh well, I have a bit of a hard pivot just to Benicio del Toro. I do want to.
We have to talk to him
because I still stand by that it is my favorite performance in the film, and the reason why is because I love that. Yes, obviously he's very fun, very chill and cool, but I think it really showcases, sort of, as we had mentioned, the different mentalities of approaching revolution. And I think particularly when you are comparing it against Bob, who is this older white guy, who has not really had the necessity to be plugged into constantly thinking about how you're going to battle these elements out there. And he's thrust into it and he's panicking at every moment. But for Sensei, it's always been there. Every single day is a revolution that you have to fight. And doesn't mean that you don't take it seriously, but it means that because it's so present in your everyday life, you approach it with organization and a sense of calm so that you don't get overwhelmed by it. You know the plan of attack. And to see that dichotomy is not just funny on its surface, of one person losing their mind and the other person being calm as a cucumber. But what I really love about it is just his performance really embodies what you really want to see out of a leader. And I think Del Toro manages to do so much with so little, and he's so compelling in every single moment. And I love Benicio so much. When he gets arrested, he does this little dance lifting up his shirt too. It's like,
here we go.
It's so great. Yeah, let's get to work. I I love him. I really do. It's such an endearing performance, but I don't I've seen some people talk about it being like there's not much there. I very much disagree. I think that this is a performance that knows that you don't need to do a ton. You don't need to do big theatrical things, but you can make a character that feels so real and grounded that you are compelled by. And I really do think it's brilliant. And Benicio is actually an actor that I've kind of been back and forth on throughout the years. Like, I think he can be brilliant, but there's other times I am not super into his performances, but I absolutely adore him here.
I think he's great in this movie. And also for me personally, it just was like, I mean, the ongoing stuff with the Trump administration, Latino communities, and what's going on with ICE in this movie, there's no way to not be able to, as someone that is Latino, feel that strongly throughout the film. And him, in his sense of calm, is honestly some of the most enduring thing I've seen in cinema this year. The idea that Benicio del Toro brought a lot of this to the film, and that they rewrote,
which is crazy to think about.
They kind of thought him being more of like a man of action than one of patience. And I actually think that that's a brilliant thing to see here, is that like this guy is ocean waves is his thing. Like that this is a man of controlling that chaos in that dojo, like having respect for his environment, or having respect for his community, having compassion, all these different things. You see that throughout it. Like he's allowing the same. This is what's so profound about this performance, and why, Josh, when people say that, I agree. It's fucking bullshit. He has the same amount of compassion for Bob and finding Willa as he does for those people that he is sheltering upstairs. That is profound as a human being, to be able to have that. And for Benicio to see that, and for PTA to be able to collectively show that. And this is a guy that is a pillar in this community. You have the young, you have the old, you have him be able to rally within a time crunch and never feel like he is behind schedule. And I love that moment where he tells, I think it's his wife, where it's like, I know you don't like going in the tunnels, but I'm going to need you here. And she trusts him. Like, he's yelling at his son, get off the damn phone and go help up there. You know, he's telling his family members, he's like, we practiced this before. They're going to come knock on the door. You tell them this and this and that. Then there's like the little moment where they're like, you know, Leo's got to charge the phone. He's like, hey, girls, get out of here. Like, you know, thank you, girls, for getting out of my area. Now I get, you know, we can do this. He's trying to find the gun. You see that moment where he gets the money, because it's like, is he getting that money for Bob, or is he getting that money for the people that, in case they have to go to the next phase of his plan? Like, or did he have to use that money to pay off the nurses to then get, you know, for any type of situation? Like, he seems to be one step ahead of it. And it's so great. He's so great in this movie. And he's the one that is emotionally consistent throughout this. In times of panic, he's the one in control. And he ultimately, he does make a sacrifice. Like, he's like, you jump out here and I'll take the heat, because I'll probably be okay. Like, most likely he'll bail out and he'll be fine. He'll go back to his situation. But your journey, you know, it's not the end of the line for me here. You need to have no fear. No fear, like Tom fucking Cruise. That's what you need to have right now. And then he just shoves him out the door. And it's so great. Benicio's awesome in this. Like, I do also love him in Phoenician Scheme. I know, like, people kind of go back and forth on that film. But he's had a great year. But this is a performance, it's like, I love that PT and him make the decision to not have subtitles, and that this, and if you you understand, you know, some of that dialogue like I do, it's very profound stuff, and it's very you know, energetic. But then you can also just understand that, like, PT and him understand the audience, that through his actions are going to speak louder than any of the words that he's going to say up on the screen.
Yeah, I was going to mention the not subtitling the Spanish, because I don't know Spanish a ton, but I know like a little bit of it, that I could get some of those conversations. But what I love about the decision not to subtitle it is that it really further emphasizes how much, like, this is his world, and if you are paying attention, you can be a part of it and you can know what's going on. But it's not meant for like everybody necessarily. It is a battle that has been happening that, like I said, if you are attuned to it, you can understand what's going on, or you can be like Bob, who's just moving through, just trying to get his phone charged for this one thing that he's concerned with, while all this stuff is happening on the sideline. So I actually think that not subtitling the Spanish is actually a very important thematic point that the movie is making with that character, and about this revolution that's happening with this group. It's that yeah, you may not know exactly what's going on, but that has not stopped it from happening. You know, just because you aren't paying attention doesn't mean it's not important and doesn't mean that it isn't accomplishing a very important goal.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think too with Bob, right, when he's, getting all of these instructions from Sensei, and he's supposed to follow these skateboarders across the rooftops. I love the visual of that because it reminds me so much of West Side Story. I think it's very fun. But it's a visual interpretation, or, it symbolizes, I think, this idea that Bob can't really keep up anymore. The world has been turning and these revolutions have been happening, and there's this world that he hasn't been a part of as he's been hiding away in the forest that he needs to, actively try to keep up with, and he really can't. And Sensei is the one who has to, be the force of calm through all of that. And the amount of planning that he does, from, working with the nurse who unlocks his handcuffs, to really everyone in between. He's doing so much there. But what's the first line we hear Benicio del Toro say in this movie? It's telling Willa, when we're introduced to her as a teenager, to remember to breathe. That just feels like so essential to who he is as a character, but also I think how we are supposed to feel about him as a presence, in contrast to Bob.
It's like fight back, but also be cognizant of what you're doing at the same time.
Exactly. You can't just go through like...
Yeah, it's not just the movements, it's your mind too. It's how it's the plan of attack, not just the attack itself. Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like we could talk about this movie for another hour and we wouldn't. I mean, we've done 3 hours.
There's so much in the movie.
There's so much.
I think I kind of want to wrap it up with just the technical aspects of PTA's work here with his collaborators. I think that it is, I think like because it's so over, being so unanimously praised by everybody right now, and people are talking about so many of the films, we're taking it a little bit on the technical side for granted. Like, I think the cinematography of this movie is incredible. I think the editing is so propulsive and
amazing.
Special, and
you would never know it's a 2 hour and 40-minute movie.
No, it feels
moves. It's crazy.
It freaking moves. The action sequences being like action sequences I've never seen before, in terms of just that chase scene at the end is incredible stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the hills, that really is one of those things where it's like, it seems so simple on the surface. Like it's not a very complicated setup that they're doing, but the way that they're shooting it, I remember the first time I saw it, it was like, this feels like something I've never seen before in a movie. Felt very Hitchcockian to me also, the way that it was building tension, and just an amazing sequence. Yeah, one of those that we're going to be talking about for a long time.
Yeah. And then Sophia, you mentioned it, but Johnny Greenwood's score. I mean, my God, the man, he can't not make perfection when he works with PTA. The makeup design on Lockjaw at the end is truly terrifying stuff. I don't even think we got too much into actually Sean Penn's performance. I think he's fucking terrified and hilarious and weird and menacing in all different.
Whatever he's doing with his mouth is just
his like, walk.
Oh my God! The first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is a singular character. You can just see the choices that he's making and the interpretation of who this man is, why he moves in those ways, and just how he carries himself through the world. I think it's just I think Benicio's performance is also very smart physically.
Yeah.
Too. Like they're both, I think, and Leo, honestly.
I mean, we haven't talked enough about how this might be Leo's best performance of his career, and
I love him so
much. Chase Infinity is the newcomer of the year for me, and I mean, what is it? Regina Hall's only on the screen for like 6 minutes, and it's some of the most heartbreaking stuff. And we were talking the non-actors in this movie, like Lockjaw's second in command, the Willa's friends, and then.
Do I look like your parent?
Kind of. the phone call of the year. The phone call of the year, maybe with the customer service line. I mean, Josh, I was going to make a reference to the fact that there's his name's Comrade Joshua. But you understand, you understand that you would have just understood that was that who.
Yeah, for sure.
Bob,
that was.
You wouldn't have needed a Greyhawk 10.
Yeah, you wouldn't have needed a Greyhawk 10.
I would have.
Josh called enough Greyhawk 10s on me this year already. He doesn't need it. Josh, can you? Okay, Josh, Sophia, we'll do this both together. But Josh, please go first. What are some of y'all's other favorite films of the year, and what is y'all's most anticipated film of 2026?
Well, other favorites of the year. I really loved Twinless. That was a movie that for actually a very long time was my number one and was wrestling with it. But I found that movie to be another really interesting character study that went into like profoundly deep themes about like connection that I didn't really expect, given that director's previous movie, which I did like, but I just didn't think he would go into that territory with such grace. So I really, really love that. And the Dylan O'Brien performance, I think, is amazing. Sorry, Baby, another one I thought was just so tragic and beautiful at the same time. And Ava Victor, just everything that they do with that storytelling and their performance is just amazing. And I would also say Train Dreams. That's another one I would shout out, which is one that I remember seeing and just felt very moved by its introspection and I love character studies like that, and especially ones that can look as beautiful as that movie does. So those are some other ones that I really, really responded to throughout the year.
Sophia?
Yeah, one more thing on One Battle very, very quickly. Just because I just thought about this when we were talking. But you know this, Ryan, because you've watched many movies at film festivals with me and how I take notes. I take a lot of notes when I'm watching, really for the duration of the movie. And I would say from the point when Willa, how PTA puts that camera on the car door and she shuts the car door and the movie just feels like it revs up and you have that river of hills, like the score says. I was just like fully locked in. There's nothing written in my notebook, not a feeling, not a detail, nothing. And then I realized after, I'm like, oh my God, this, I just completely forgot to take notes on this whole thing because I was just so invested. I think it is just a perfect sequence. But other movies I loved, I mean, I think it was a great movie year. There's so many that I really responded to. When I saw Sentimental Value at Cannes, I cried a lot. I feel very personally connected with that film and just relationships in my own life and my extended family and having a sister. And I just found it to be just a very true, real domestic drama, yes, but also I think a really moving portrait of mental health, one that I haven't really seen in the same way since I first watched Ordinary People. So really love that film. Also, Sorry, Baby. This was a movie where, and I have one every few years where this happens, but where I think this director knows me somehow. Like this person knows a part of me that is private somehow. And I'm getting to experience that on film. And that's what I felt by Ava Victor and what they were doing with Sorry, Baby. I also love Hamnet. I think it's a very visually stunning, very moving film and a great adaptation of that novel. I'll also shout out The Mastermind, Kelly Reichardt's film. I think that's, features a fantastic Josh O'Connor performance. Of course, I'm going to talk about Josh O'Connor, who had, I think, another incredible year this year. But that film is such a tricky one, I think, because everyone I've talked to after who's seen that movie that hasn't liked it, they're like, yeah, but it is a Sophia movie. Just to mean it is very slow. I'm like, that's the Reichert special touch, but I love the ending. Sound of Falling, one of my favorites from Cannes. I think that's a really cool, different type of film. It's very heavy, but the way that it deals with generational conflict and themes that connect these women throughout history. That's a theme that came up a few times in films that I loved this year. And then I'll also say The Testament of Anne Lee. Really love that. Wish that was getting some more kudos places.
I didn't mention it because I thought you would, and I'm glad because I adore that movie, and I'm
so
very
good,
very sad, but honestly not surprised that it's kind of struggling out there. But it's so beautiful and euphoric is like what I described that movie.
Yes, just the movements and the way that I think Mona Fastvold captures that choreography and just how that connects to, this. I think that she has great respect and no judgment really for Ann Lee, and I think that's why it works as well as it does. And then I also liked Hedda, of course. I thought that was very fun and loved those performances.
So we mentioned some of my favorite films of the year on this episode already that were covered. So, in The Secret Agent, Sinners, Hamnet, Weapons, some, Marty Supreme. Those are all in my top 20 of the year. Obviously, one battle after another. Black Bag. I
love Black Bag.
Black Bag's been my number 2 of the year all year long.
One of the sexiest movies of the year too.
Where
is Marissa Abella's supporting actress campaign?
Where's that film in ensemble recognitions? Because that is maybe the hottest ensemble of the year. It was just an accident. Jafar Panahi's wonderful film. I, on record, have been the number 1 sentimental value fan since Can. No, I'm just kidding. I've come back around on that movie, and I do. It's gone all the way up to my top 5. I think that movie's beautiful, and it's everything Sophia said about it. In her review at a Can, I echo that. If I had legs, I'd kick you. Is maybe the movie about motherhood of the year. I know Hamnet has that, but that's about a family grieving more than anything. I think this is the movie about motherhood. I also just think that plus another one of my favorites of the year, Die My Love, would make a really hard double feature on you that day. But it also just like 2 great performances from Rose Byrne and Jennifer Lawrence. Sophia said The Mastermind, Phoenician Scheme. I said earlier, I love that film from Wes Anderson. I think he's being very introspective on that. Materialist, I'm still very high on. Sound of Falling, Train Dreams, Blue Moon, Hedda, History of Sound, Highest to Lowest, because it had literally the best moment of the year with Denzel Washington rapping with A$AP Rocky and
the
Trunks.
Best original song of the year, Trunks.
Pillion, fantastic film. Josh, have you seen Pillion yet?
I did finally get to see Pillion.
Okay.
Yeah. Good movie. I enjoyed it.
Good movie. I loved By Gans Resurrection when we talked about with Josh. Also, Jake Kelly, Sound of Falling. There's so many great movies. And then I'm give these 2 shout outs here, and then we'll get y'all's anticipated film. K-pop Demon Hunters. I loved it, and I couldn't believe that I loved it, and it took me months to see it. The songs have been earworms in my brain since I've seen them. And then The Naked Gun, because that movie is fucking hilarious and has maybe outside of One Battle After Another, maybe the most laughs I've had at just a studio comedy in a long time. The TiVo bit is hilarious. The Sex and the City joke's hilarious. The Frosty the Snowman menage a trois is hilarious. The jokes about the Black Eyed Peas, everything about that movie, all the coffee bits, everything. It's fucking hilarious. Liam Neeson, one of the most underrated performances of the year. Josh, your most anticipated film of 2026 is?
Well, before I do that, I actually do want to shout out 2 other movies if I can for the previous year. I just want to give one just quick shout outs to Left-Handed Girl and Urchin, 2 very small movies that I feel like not a lot of people are watching, but I just feel like they are very special, like small scale character studies with some great performances in them. So
can I throw out one more?
Yeah,
I have one more too.
Cover Up, the documentary of the year.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
My other one's Peter Hujar's Day.
Yes.
Because I just thought that was great. And I love Ben Whishaw and Rebecca Hall. It's such a fun, my version of fun, portrait of 70s New York.
No, Sophia.
Yeah.
You like Ben Whishaw. Josh loves.
That's
Ben
true.
Whishaw.
It's a different type of love.
It's a different type of love.
It's all relative. If I wasn't here, then that would be appropriate. Like I said, but yeah, I would.
But you are here, Josh, and so you have to claim Ben Whishaw, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
I just think, relatively speaking, yes, I would agree.
No, that movie is fantastic, Sophia. I do like it a lot.
Yeah, but my most anticipated for 2026. I hate to sound like a really boring fanboy. I'm sorry, but there's only one movie in which I literally have a ticket to already see in a movie theater next year, and so I do have to say The Odyssey. Like I'm sorry. I know that it's a very boring answer and predictable, but I'm in the tank for Nolan, and more than anything, honestly, I'm just curious to see what this is going to be like, because Nolan is such a kind of grounded filmmaker. Even in his fantastical stuff, there's a very there's a practicality to everything. Yeah. And I'm very curious to see what full-blown fantasy is going to look like in the lens of Nolan. And maybe it won't be good, but it'll be kind of a departure from what he usually does. And I'm fascinated to see how that gets translated.
Yeah. Sophia, your most anticipated of 2026?
I mean, I am so curious about The Odyssey. Seeing the early footage, watching it, I thought I never thought it would look like that or thought about it that way when I was reading The Odyssey. Mm-hmm. Like, to actually see inside the Trojan horse and what that probably felt like was just, I had like a weird out of body nerdy experience in watching that. But just to give, I'll give like 2 more examples just because. Very excited for the new Hamaguchi film, All of a Sudden. It stars Virginia Fira, who I love. So I feel like that's going to be such a cool collaboration. And I loved Drive My Car and Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy when we had that double a few years ago. So excited for that. His movies just always hit me. And then I would say too, just for a fun one, I am beyond morbidly curious about Wuthering Heights, yes, of course, and then also I Want Your Sex, the Greg Araki film with Olivia Wilde and Cooper Hoffman.
Yeah, I don't think the internet's ready for that one.
No.
But
I've been ready, though.
But I've been ready for it. We are. We
have been hearing about this new Greg Araki movie forever, and it's like, I need it right now.
For the longest time, I said my most anticipated film was Disclosure Day, the new film from Steven Spielberg.
And you saw the trailer.
Well, no, I think the trailer looks great, and I'm not saying that, but I have to be honest with myself. It's The Odyssey, because
of course it's The Odyssey,
and it's in.
I know you,
it's The Odyssey, and if the Terrence Malick movie comes out, it's the Terrence Malick movie. And that's what Jay would say, and I think he's 100% right there.
I feel like you'll be saying that next year too.
I feel like I'll be saying it again next year when we do the show. I think that Nolan made one of the best films of the decade in Oppenheimer, and he is now. I'm just so curious, Josh. I think you're absolutely right. Like, what does he do for the creatures?
Yeah.
How does Matt Damon?
And I've heard the name Ray Harryhausen evoked, which makes me very curious.
Very curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm also very curious because Sophia's right. I have also seen the sort of siege sequence, and it's incredible. But I'm also very curious about an aspect of this that I think we have to have that conversation when we get there, which is I'm curious about Matt Damon in the lead performance, because I think that he was one of the more underrated things that we didn't get to talk about enough with Oppenheimer. He was very good.
Yeah.
And he gets to be the lead of this thing. And I think we might be talking about maybe in like 6 months, 7 months time, talking about like Matt Damon giving a performance of his career. That's like the potential on the board type of thing that we could have. I'm very curious about Wuthering Heights just for the fucking internet of it all, and what
I just want to know
and what it. I want to know what the fuck she's doing. I'm very curious about the new Kogonada film. so we can wash a big bowl, beautiful Journey's taste out of our mouths. The one that's premiering at Sundance. I'm Sophia's very curious about Masters of the Universe, because I've explained to her what Masters of the Universe was over at AFI. And
wait, I just said what I just like. Did you see my brain short circuit?
She forgot about what the Masters.
Oh my gosh, yes,
you know what it is. Sis, we had a whole conversation about this.
Oh, Josh, you would have loved this because I was learning. Like, I am obsessed with whoever Evil Lynn is. She seems so cool.
This is a whole new avenue for Sophia to open up. And I will say this, and I know that I've sound skeptical on it, but I am curious about. One, I'm also very curious about a David Fincher, Quentin Tarantino, Brad Pitt follow up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If that's
probably gets my feelings about that, but it's okay.
I understand, Josh. I understand, but still very curious about that. But Narnia from Greta Gerwig, I'm very curious about that because I wasn't a Narnia fan growing up. But I wasn't a Little Women fan growing up when I was a kid of the book or any of those adaptations, and that is my favorite Greta Gerwig film. I think that she could potentially, knock it out of the park. Though I watched Ellen McKay, and I'm not a fan of who they picked for the White Witch. But it's a tough task anyway. After falling Tilda Swinton everywhere,
I'm one of the weirdos of Ellen McKay defenders.
Oh, you're the Ellen McKay defender.
Hey, you know what? Cody also liked that movie.
Well, then maybe.
I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was really good in it.
No, she's actually kind of good in it.
If we're sharing our truths about that movie.
Wait, did the embargo finally drop? I never knew who saw
it. I like that movie. It was charming to me, and I didn't expect it, but it was.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a very. Sophia and I have already kind of talked about it. Like, going to be a top heavy year for like the big spectacles. And then I think it's going to be a great year for Discovery next year. I think there are some great films yet that we have yet to talk about. I don't know. I know this for Josh. There's a new Andrew Hay film, I believe, coming out. There's no way in hell that's not going to be probably yours or Eric's number one film of the year next year, or at least the film that we all want to see. So
I can't imagine not at least really loving that film if it's not my number one.
Sophia, you mentioned Hamaguchi, but Lee Chang-dong returning for Burning, like his follow-up. We'll be very curious about that. That would
Lee
be
Chang-dong.
That would be so good. So there's a lot of great options. But I
thought you were about to troll me for a second and mention Digger.
Well,
you have the two Inarritu haters on this pod.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say I am curious about it. And I did like, and we're coming off of movies, and we're coming off of Bardo, which I think is one of his better films. So,
I didn't hate it as much as I thought it was going to. So
that's a win. That's a win. Josh, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at JR Parham, and you can find my work at Next Best Picture and AwardsWatch.
Sophia, same drill.
You can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at Sophia Sim. And you can find reviews, including one of One Battle After Another, interviews, and more at AwardsWatch.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky at Ryan McQuade 77. If you like podcasts, we have Director Watch. We still got episodes coming out. We'll have one next week. That will be, or this week or whenever it is. And you should be listening to the Warren Beatty series. And we have an episode for Reds that Sophia will be on. It's a totally normal, not insane episode of Director Watch coming to you very soon.
Can't wait to listen to that one.
Oh, get ready.
iTunes, Spotify, 5-star reviews. While you're over on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. It's the best place to get all the news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, and all that sent to you. Next week, we should be back probably covering the awards race, or we might take a week off. You'll get a podcast soon. You'll hear from us soon. Till then, hope you all had a great holiday season. Happy New Year. Thank you all for listening, for coming up to us all at festivals and saying that you were listeners and a part of this journey with us. And we'll see you in 2026, and we'll see you all next time.